What's happening, everybody? Welcome to Week 8 Start Sit Help. Off to a bit of slow start today. I was about to go live, and then the yawn hit, and I was like, I need an emergency coffee. So I had to put that together just before I went live, but I'm all set now, ready to go. Talking shop, sorting out your starting lineup ahead of Week 8. There's probably a decent number of decisions that need to be made this week. There are no bye weeks. This is the last week without bye weeks, I believe, until week 12. There might be week 13 buys as well. So you have, injuries aside, you have your full arsenal of options available to you on your bench no matter what, since there's no bye weeks this week. So some difficult decisions in all likelihood. Hopefully we can sort that out today. I'll go over the latest that we have as far as injuries that might be able to help you ultimately make a decision before answering or asking any questions. And we'll go from there. Of course, taking any questions in the chat. Members will get first priority. If anyone's feeling generous enough to offer a super, you do not have to, but that will also be a line jumper to get your question answered in priority order, and then I will get to everybody else. I just ask for a little bit of patience as I work through any of those questions that ultimately roll in, and typically they do at some point or other. So while folks start to make their way in, and hopefully happy Saturday to you all, I'll start getting into what we have as far as latest injury updates. I don't need to go through what was reported yesterday. That's old news, but I will go through what has been reported today. Jaden Daniels, obviously, this is one that a lot of folks are paying attention to, will participate in a walkthrough today. This is a report that was earlier today. The team will see how he feels. I believe the last I saw is he's officially listed as questionable/true game time decision. That is a 4:25 Eastern start. So if your alternate quarterback option goes in the early window, you may need to be prepared to fire that player up unless we get anything a little bit more definitive closer to kickoff for Washington. If you have Dak Prescott or Brock Purdy, or I guess you're probably not going to have them, but like Russell Wilson or Daniel Jones, maybe more particularly in super flex leagues, those are the Sunday night and Monday night quarterbacks. So you have the you have the benefit of seeing what will happen with Jaden Daniels if those players so happen to be your backup options. In that situation, your decision is simple. You play Jaden Daniels if he plays. You can pivot to somebody playing in Sunday or Monday Night Football if he is out. The early window, the 1 o'clock Eastern start, is what makes it tricky if that's where your alternate option at quarterback is. Dalvin Cook is getting elevated to from the Cowboys practice squad to the active roster for Week 8. I think this means nothing for Rico Dowdle. He has easily been the Cowboys' best running back this year. While it hasn't been exactly world-beating results, we feel perfectly fine about Rico as an RB2. A 29-year-old Dalvin Cook does not change that. If anything, maybe they try to give somebody else behind Rico a different look. And then at that point, Ezekiel Elliott is the one who loses the opportunities that he's been getting. I think Rico remains unaffected. Jonathan Brooks downgraded to out. This is not a total surprise. Hopefully we will see Brooks ahead of Week 9. However, the Panthers do still have a lot of time to activate him out of that 21-day practice window that they opened up, I believe, on the 15th or 16th of October. So we're coming down to the wire. We pretty much need Jonathan Brooks to be activated ahead of Week 9 for Week 9. Otherwise, we're running the risk of him being shut down for the rest of the season. Hopefully we see him ahead of Week 9. The clock is ticking, though. It's like, okay, we thought the 21-day practice window was opened. That was 10 days ago. We're at the halfway point. So I guess Week 10 is still in play as well. But, the clock is officially ticking on Jonathan Brooks. Tajay Spears downgraded to out for Week 8, so Tony Pollard can be fired up. With a solid amount of confidence, he will be getting the lion's shares of opportunities, even though it is a tough matchup against the Detroit Lions. You hold out hope for some volume there. There hasn't been any. Those are the most recent updates for today. So I guess I'll just speed rush what was reported yesterday. I won't spend too much time on this because this is slightly old news, but we'll just run through it because we didn't meet on Friday. We met on Thursday. Let's see. Bucky Irving will play. It was originally reported that he was not expected to play Week 8. Bucky Irving will play Week 8, barring a setback. Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen ruled out for Week 8. Could be trade rumors around those two. Andy Dalton, doubtful. I don't know if he's officially been ruled out yet, but it's going to be Bryce Young and a prayer, I guess, for the Carolina Panthers. Chuba can be fired up out of necessity, volume, all that good stuff, but it could be rough sledding for Carolina. They're playing Denver. Yeah, good luck. Jonathan Taylor, Josh Downs removed from the Colts injury report. Good news there. Calvin Ridley likely to play. Mason Rudolph boosts his floor a little bit. DeAndre Hopkins also getting traded boosts Ridley's floor a little bit. Chris Olave, clear concussion protocol. T. Higgins is questionable. Derek Carr, doubtful. Not surprised there. Taysom Hill is making his return. That could cut into Alvin Kamara. Goal line opportunities, all that stuff. But obviously you're starting Kamara still. Jacoby Myers expected to play. Okay. Oh, Tyler Huntley's going to miss at least 4 games because Tua is back. That makes sense. He should probably miss the rest of the season as well. Zay Flowers listed questionable for Week 8. I think we're on the optimistic side there for him. DK Metcalf, this is a big one, listed doubtful for Week 8. If he cannot go, Jackson Smith and Jigba, big boost. Tyler Lockett, big boost. I believe I saw Jalen Waddle was cleared from the injury report. I'm not sure if Tyreek Hill was as well, but he was questionable. There's optimism about his availability, though. Jawan Jennings listed out. Deebo Samuel listed questionable. The 49ers wide receiver situation is in flux. That will be one to monitor going into the games tomorrow because the 49ers play on Sunday night. If you have Deebo Samuel, there is a decent chance that you will have to pick between him or another wide receiver that is playing in the earlier window. So we can sort out any Deebo potential headaches. Hopefully we get a little bit better news about Deebo or more clear news about his availability before the 1 p.m. kickoffs. But the 49ers have proven to be difficult to trust this year when it comes to sharing accurate information. So we'll see about that. George Kittle also questionable, but he was originally listed as day-to-day with the foot sprain. So hopefully he's all good. Chargers are banged up on offense. Quentin Johnston, doubtful. Ladd McConkey, DJ Chark, Hayden Hurst, Will Dissly. Those 4 are questionable. So still a decent amount of information as it pertains to injuries this week. Up in the air. Obviously, keep yourselves plugged in between now and Sunday morning. I will likely go live tomorrow for any last-minute thoughts that anybody may have. And, of course, we're dependent upon some of these injury statuses to update. What's going on, Nino? Good to see you. All right, those are the latest injury updates that we have. There is still a lot in flux. We'll see what happens between now and tomorrow. Just as a recap, as I see folks coming in, I will get to every question, so I just ask for a little bit of patience. I will get to members first as I see them. I don't see any member questions at the moment, but as I see them come in, they will get priority. That's a perk of being a member of the channel. If you send a super, you do not have to, but if you're feeling so inclined or generous enough, that'll also be a line jumper to get your question answered in priority order. If not, that's fine. I just ask for everybody to have some patience as I work through those. I will get to everybody else. If nothing else, if you're not, whether you're a member or not, I only ask if you're enjoying the stream, if you're enjoying the conversation, the dialogue, whether you agree with my takes or not, just that you like the stream. That helps me for algorithm purposes. Appreciate that in advance. Let's get into it because I don't see any member questions as of yet. So we can start off right at the top. Caleb Williams versus Geno this week. Caleb is on the road against a very beatable Washington secondary. Although they've been a little bit better. They've been a little bit better of late. They started off the season, getting lit up by everybody, and recently they've been a little bit better. Meanwhile, Geno gets Buffalo at home, right? That's a home game for Seattle, but potentially down DK Metcalf. I think I'll take Caleb coming off of the Bears bye week. If DK Metcalf is out, I will take Caleb because he has DJ Moore. He has Keenan Allen. He has Roma Dunze. He has Cole Kmet. He's coming out of his bye week. That week of rest is often advantageous. I'll take Caleb over Geno. Geno's been playing pretty well, and he finally had a 2-touchdown game last week. He's been a little unlucky in the touchdown department. But now he might be without his top receiver. We got to downgrade him. Caleb. So Mahomes or Williams? I'm going to say this same answer. Caleb Williams, and not because, Mahomes acquired DeAndre Hopkins this week. That's great, slight boost. Mahomes has been bad for fantasy. And, I know that's a bit of a blanket statement, and it's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Just because a guy has not put up big numbers each week doesn't mean that he can't any one given week. But there's just enough of a trend here where even with Mahomes, he ran for a ton of yards last week, and he ran for a score. He still only had 12 or 13 points from the quarterback position because he didn't throw for a touchdown and he had 2 interceptions. I know it is a Raiders team that he historically destroys. Mahomes typically plays very well against the Raiders. So if you want to go based on history, if you're somebody who is I like matchup history and I take that into account, then I guess you can fire Mahomes against the Raiders. But just recently, he hasn't been a high-end option, like a top 12 option even at quarterback. You have to start him in super flex leagues, but in one quarterback leagues, Mahomes is has his play borders on droppable. He's been the QB 13, 14, 15, 17, 20, and 19 this year. The QB 13 is his best finish on the season. That's not good enough. Caleb over Mahomes. Yeah, he could do well against the Raiders. He historically plays well against the Raiders. They picked up DeAndre Hopkins. That's all well and good. I'll play the here and now. I'll take the rookie who, tossed 4 touchdowns the last time we saw him. Yes, it was in London against Jacksonville, but that is a, highly touted rookie with high expectations, looking like he's maybe starting, not crowning him just yet, but starting to figure things out off his bye week, often advantageous. Nothing scary about the matchup against Washington. I'll take Caleb. Sit one in full PPR. Najee, McMillan, Dowdle, Pittman. In full PPR, Pittman is difficult to trust just because Anthony Richardson might just be bad. I want to start Rico Dowdle. I have been a Rico Dowdle sucker this year. But also he has been the 0 RB hero, and he has taken over that backfield. I don't care about Dalvin Cook getting promoted to the active roster. That's Rico's backfield. So I kind of want to play him. And San Francisco's not the shutdown unit on defense that they were a year ago. Najee still doing perfectly fine, and nothing scary about the matchup against the Giants on Monday night. Jaylen Warren is back. That's the only thing with Najee. But, until we see, Najee has been a rock solid option for your starting lineup. Until we see any reason to the contrary, I would just continue to go with Najee. I like Jalen McMillan from a volume perspective. We're talking about Pittman at his floor here, but I think he's my recommendation to sit. I think Pittman is my recommendation to sit. I think he had 11 points last week, which is fine. But I don't know if I trust Anthony Richardson right now. I'll play Najee, I'll play McMillan, and I'll play Dowdle. Sit Pittman. I just need to look at what he did last week, because now I'm curious. 3 for 63. Yeah, I mean, Anthony Richardson has struggled. I have a hard time trusting him. Yeah. Start 3 in full PPR. Tank Dell, JSN, Devontae Smith, Chuba, and Pollard. I would probably go. I mean, if DK Metcalf doesn't play, then I am perfectly fine firing up Smith and Jigba in a spot start. Nothing scary about the matchup against Buffalo. They're a middle of the pack team against the pass. I'll take JSN. I'll take Devontae Smith in a bounce back against Cincinnati. I know he dudded out last week. It was the Saquon show. A.J. Brown did his thing as well. Cincinnati's defense is very gettable. The Eagles didn't need to throw the ball a ton last week. I'll go back to the well with Devontae Smith in a potential shootout against the Bengals offense. Give me JSN, give me Devontae Smith, and I'll take Pollard. It's a bad matchup against Detroit, but Tajay Spears is out, so I'll bank on some volume. Give me JSN. Assuming Metcalf is out, and he's currently listed as doubtful. If Metcalf is out, JSN. If Metcalf is in, then Tank Dell over JSN, and then I'll take Devontae Smith, and I'll take Pollard. Chuba is going to get as much work as he can handle, but it is a bare bones skeleton crew Panthers offense, even worse than it usually is. Deontay's out. Thielen is still out. Andy Dalton is doubtful. Is Bryce Young tracking to start? Or are they going to go with some random third quarterback? Yeah, starting week 8 with Dalton hurt. Yeah, I mean, I don't trust that offense. JSN, Devontae, Pollard. That's where I'm going. Ferguson or Kelsey? Trade one. I'll play Kelsey against the I'll play Kelsey against the Chiefs. Trade Ferguson. You have Kelsey. And Kelsey's they're both past their bye week, so they're both enticing. Try to trade one. Yeah, even if your league doesn't trade a whole lot, somebody needs a tight end. And move forward with just one. Or trade Kelsey if that you might get more for him just based on the name alone. Trade one of those 2 tight ends. If you have 2 good tight ends, you have one too many. Trade one for running back or wide receiver help. But I'll start Kelsey against the Raiders assuming you have both on your roster tomorrow. And then between Worthy, Dubs, and Tillman is obviously interesting with a potential emergence. Jameis Winston is in now. I still don't totally trust that situation. Meanwhile, Dobbs has been playing well recently, and it's against Jacksonville, so I'll roll those dice. One of the Packers receivers, at least one, is probably not going to come through tomorrow just because there's only one football to play with, and not everybody can necessarily get fed every week. But you should be starting your Packers tomorrow if you have questions about ancillary wide receivers to plug in. They're playing Jacksonville. Jacksonville's getting cooked by every wide receiver on the face of the earth. Give me Dobbs, and then against the Raiders, that's probably Worthy. I'll go Worthy over Tillman just because it's not Tillman is playing, even with Deshaun Watson's absence, it is still a broken offense in all likelihood. They've suffered injuries along the offensive line. I mean, we'll see what Jameis can do and hopefully give them a spark. Amari Cooper's gone. Baltimore has been gettable through the air, but I don't know if the Cleveland Browns, this current iteration of their offense, can also come through against the Ravens just because the numbers are bad. Give me Worthy, give me Dobbs, give me Kelsey, trade one of them. Trade one of those 2 tight ends. Flex 1 in full PPR. Dobbins. I'm gonna end I saw Dobbins' name and I'm Dobbins with confidence. He didn't do a ton last week. I think he only had 40 rushing yards against the Cardinals. Gus Edwards remains on IR. Kimani Vidal is depth for the team, not for fantasy, but for the Chargers, and not really all that much more. Who do they have this week? I don't even care who it is. It's a good matchup. The Saints, right. Oh, my God. They're a run funnel. The Saints are getting cooked by everybody. Dobbins. Of all this, yeah, like Dobbins, not close for anybody else. The next closest person for me is Najee, and he's like on the RB2 roadmap. Dobbins can be fired up on the RB1 roadmap. Dobbins over all these guys, for sure. Lots of intriguing names, but nobody here over Dobbins, not against the Saints. I would start myself at running back against the New Orleans Saints. All right. The input questions can be a little time consuming. So if you want any more specifics after my question, I can try. But these do take up a little bit of time. And so I will try to kind of run through this a little bit. But like Caleb is fine. You know, running backs are okay. DJ Moore, CD Lamb is solid. Yeah, I mean, you've got good pieces. You could consider moving Dobbs or Shakir for a little bit more running back help. You're not going to get a huge upgrade from those guys, but you know, you have solid starters. I like Jacobs more than I think the consensus does. He's in a good offense. The touchdowns will come. Brian Robinson has been awesome. DJ Moore, Caleb Williams stack is great, and they're past their bye week. CD Lamb's past his bye week. Njoku is going to take up 1 million targets rest of season. I mean, it's a good squad. I don't know what your record is, but like that is a competitive team on the surface. You know, maybe get a little bit more running back depth, trade Dobbs or Shakir for an RB4 just to get some extra running back help. And I see you have some more wide receivers down below. Yeah, I would trade a couple of wide receivers to try to get a little bit more running back depth. But, I mean, it's a solid squad. I can do the rate team questions, but I'm going to maybe move through them a little quicker than I had in the past. I noticed that those are the ones that take up a lot of time. And I, don't want to get long-winded on that because I know there's a lot of other people who have questions. But appreciate everybody's patience and everybody for coming in and, appreciate the engagement. Again, if you are enjoying the stream, the conversation, the dialogue, all that good stuff, I only ask that you consider liking the stream. That helps me out for algorithm purposes. Appreciate it. Let's see. I still don't see any members popping in, but they may eventually. Half PPR, Njoku or Cade Otton? I mean, Njoku is probably the guy you have to go with, but those are 2 top 6 options rest of the season. I would trade one of those 2. I mean, it's going to be difficult. I would hope Njoku balls this week, and I would try to trade him and then just rock with Otton rest of season because Godwin is gone. Evans should come back, but is out for the next 4 weeks. That includes a bye week. So 3 games bye week, and then hopefully Evans is back week 12. But that's a hope right now. It's not a guarantee. I would try to trade one of those 2. I would play Njoku this week, but I would try to trade one of those 2. This goes for everybody. If you have 2 tight ends, you have 1 too many. I live by that rule for better or worse. If a player gets hurt, I'll find another bargain on the waiver wire somewhere along the way. I might have to struggle for a week or 2, but oftentimes these situations present themselves eventually, like a Cade Otton, right? Like Godwin, unfortunately done for the year. Evans, multi-week absence. Otton's going to be a tight end 1 rest of the season, and nobody drafted him in 10 or 12 team leagues. If you have 2 tight ends, you have 1 too many. If you can't find a trade partner, okay, fine. You did your best, but try to find a trade partner. Somebody is hurting at tight end in your league. Somebody is. Flex 2 in full PPR. Hopkins, Keenan Allen. What is place? Is that? It's not Pierce. It's not like Alec Pierce. I don't know who that is. Hopkins, Keenan Allen, Bucky, Pittman, McConkey. Probably Keenan Allen, I guess, from this group. Nothing scary about the matchup. I'd want to have a little bit more confidence in Bucky Irving, but he missed practice a couple times this week. Obviously, Hopkins is more intriguing now. I would probably press pause on DeAndre Hopkins for this week just because it is a short week. He could come through if they use him in the red zone, but he may only get 30% of the snaps, 35, 40% of the snaps as he's learning the playbook. Now, he's a vet. The Chiefs know what they're doing on offense, so he might be fine. But, Amari Cooper last week played 35% of the snaps in his first game with the Bills. He came through because he scored a touchdown. Had he not caught that touchdown, he would not have been a good start. What was Devontae Adams' snap count last week in his first game with the Jets? He played a full complement of snaps. Well, that's because the Jets are reeling. I would play Keenan Allen. And if McConkey is healthy, I would play McConkey because it's against the Saints. And, no Quentin Johnston. He should soak up a lot of work, a lot of targets. If McConkey can go and Chark is out or one of the tight ends is out, McConkey should command 10 targets. If McConkey is out, then I would go Keenan and Pittman. But I would look to avoid Pittman. He's a boring wide receiver 3 floor play right now with Anthony Richardson. There's upside for that to improve, but right now it's hard to feel good about that situation. I'll say Keenan Allen, and I will say McConkey. This was the follow-up to the team quote. Yeah, trade some of those wide receivers for some running back help. Is this a pick 1 or a pick 2? I would in this or in order. I mean, I would probably go if I had to order these guys. I would probably go Pickens. Well, and I don't know if it's full or half PPR. If it's full PPR, I'll say Pickens and then JSN and then Stevenson and then Dobbs. That might honestly be my order in half PPR as well. Maybe Stevenson over a JSN in half PPR, but even still, I'd probably just I'd go Pickens if it's a pick 1. I'll go Pickens and Ramondre if it's half PPR. I'll go Pickens and JSN if it's full PPR. And if it's as many details as you guys can give me. Is it start 1? Is it start 2? Is it half PPR? Is it full PPR? Are there any bonuses in your scoring that I should know about? As much context as you can provide me, especially if it's a question that involves, do I start a running back or a wide receiver? The scoring helps to make the call. It's not always a factor, but it can be. Hopkins, Lockett, or Dobbs. Lockett with Metcalf being doubtful, I'll say Lockett here. Just more opportunities. And against a good offense in Buffalo, Seattle's going to have to do what they can to keep pace. I'll take Lockett. It's fair to not trust Tank right now. He goose-egged for you last week, and in general, his season has been disappointing. We have to play Tank Dell if the options are Tank Dell or Ricky Pearsall. First of all, Nico Collins is still out for Houston. Second of all, the availability of all of the 49ers pass catchers outside of Juwan Jennings is in flux. Debo could play. Kittle could play. If Debo and Kittle both play, Pearsall's chances of coming through are okay, but not as high. If one of Debo or Kittle is out, then Pearsall's chances go up because Jennings is out. Obviously, Ayuk is lost for the season. Pearsall's going to have an opportunity regardless of who is out there. The question is, how big is the opportunity, and what does he do in his second career game? We got to go back to the well with Tank Dell. Indianapolis is still a very beatable matchup through the air. I trust Stroud as a quarterback, even though he's been disappointing this year from a fantasy perspective. With Nico still on the shelf, give me Tank over Pearsall. I understand not trusting him. I will go back to the well with him for one more week. If he can't come through in a good matchup without Nico, then it might be curtains for Tank's season. But I'm willing to roll the dice one more week. He did catch a touchdown a couple weeks ago. He should have caught a touchdown last week. It just didn't happen. Maybe we get some positive course correction this week. Give me Tank Dell over Pearsall. The Steelers defense or the Chiefs defense. They're both really good options. The Steelers are at home. The Chiefs are on the road. I expect both of them to win their games. I'll take the team playing at home. I'll take the Steelers, and that's pretty much it. They're both in advantageous situations. You expect both of these teams to be playing with a lead over an inferior opponent, and therefore that allows the defense to tee off for sacks and potential turnover making plays. The difference is Kansas City's on the road. It might not matter. It's a division opponent. That could make the game a little bit more weird. Division games also always have the potential to throw that extra weirdness, that wrinkle of weirdness into them that non-division games don't tend to have. So I'll take the Steelers. I'm nitpicking. They're both good options. You probably can't go wrong with either one. I'll take Pittsburgh because they're at home. McBride or Otten? I mean, McBride's been kind of disappointing this year. They're both in the same, they're in the same range. Like, one is the tight end 6, one is the tight end 7. I'll give, I guess, the slight nod to Otten because I think Baker is throwing the football better than Kyler. That doesn't necessarily mean that one will deliver better than the other. I'll take Otten. His opportunity is wide open now. No Godwin, no Evans in this game. Baker's going to be looking for some familiarity, some continuity in the passing game. He may have that in Otten. That might be something he needs to develop with someone like Jalen McMillan. That might take some time with Jalen McMillan, with Trey Palmer, with Sterling Shepard. They've been the backups. Otten's been the starter. So, I'll take Otten, whereas McBride still competes with Marvin Harrison for targets, Michael Wilson for targets. Kyler's like not throwing the ball for more than 200 yards a game anyway this year, and he's getting 1 touchdown on the per game on the season as well. Who are they playing? Who's Arizona got this week? Miami. It's a good matchup. Nah, I'll say Otten. I will say Otten. It's a good matchup for the ground game. It's actually not as strong of a matchup through the air. The Dolphins do not allow a lot of passing yards, but also their games have kind of turned into like a stuck in the mud type of situation with Tua's absence. So that changes this week. I'll take Otten. No Evans, no Godwin. Let's see. Walker, Tony Pollard, and Hopkins, and you received Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry is the most, the guy who you most prefer to have as a single individual player. Walker hasn't been a slouch, though. Pollard's been up and down. The ups have been good. The downs have been bad. And you gave up Hopkins as well, who is a wide receiver 3. He's not a back-breaking piece, but he isn't like to give up, but he's an extra piece. I think I'd rather have the package. I'd rather have Henry over all of those guys individually, obviously, but like Henry for Walker straight up, the answer is Henry. But the fact that you gave up 3 for 1 and 2 of them are starting running backs and Walker's been killing it, I think I'd rather have the combo. I'd rather have Walker, Pollard, and Hopkins simply because it's, Pollard is an RB2, Walker's an RB1, Hopkins is a wide receiver 3. Henry's a top 3 to 5 running back, but Walker's a top 8, and Pollard's probably a top 15 or 16, especially while Spears is on the shelf and he's been missing time. I love Derrick Henry, but I think I'd slightly prefer the package. Start 3 in full PPR. Adams, Wilson, Smith, and Jigba were the first 3. You're playing Devontae Adams because you have to. You're playing Garrett Wilson because you have to. And you're playing Jackson Smith and Jigba because DK Metcalf is doubtful. If DK Metcalf is ruled in, then I guess you could go Worthy. But if Metcalf is ruled out, which seems to be the expectation at this point, then I would go Smith and Jigba. You're playing Adams and you're playing Wilson because of these options, because you have to play those guys. And I'm playing Smith and Jigba with no Metcalf. Two wide receivers, Higgins, Waddle, Dobbs. The first two, assuming they play. Waddle's been removed from the injury report, so he's good to go. And with Tua back, their ceilings are back. The Miami Dolphins skill position ceilings have returned. Higgins, I saw, was questionable for this game. What's the latest here? Listed questionable. Oh, he's like a late add to the injury report. Well, the decision is easy. Waddle for sure. Higgins if he plays. Dobbs if Higgins misses. If Higgins plays and the vibe is that, he might be limited, then you can put Dobbs in over Higgins. There's nothing scary about the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's like the best matchup you could ask for an opposing wide receiver, for opposing anything, really. Jacksonville's defense is a train wreck. Waddle for sure with Tua back. Higgins if he's active. Dobbs if he's out, or if he's, potentially, if the vibes or the reports are going into the game that Higgins will be limited, then you can put Dobbs in over Higgins. So we got to keep eyes and ears close to the ground and stay tuned for any updates closer to kickoff. Waddle is in for sure. Chase, Rico, or Bucky. If it's only one, probably Chase Brown. I like Rico, but his I guess it should be noted he didn't play a ton of snaps in the Cowboys last game. Chase Brown, I think, has a little bit more of a firm, larger role. And for all the issues Cincinnati has on defense, I trust their offense, especially at home. I'll take Chase Brown. Bucky's missed a couple. It sounds like he's going to play. There's not going to be any setbacks. He should be fine, but he didn't practice a whole lot this week. That could mean that that could mean nothing. But splitting work with Rachaad White and Sean Tucker makes them a little difficult to trust each week. Makes all of them difficult to trust each week. Although I guess their usage will go up with the wide receivers being down. I'll take Chase Brown. Good offense. Good offense. Nothing scary about the matchup. Philly is middle of the pack as far as rushing yards allowed per game. I see David join me. What's going on, David? So just again, appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out. I will be getting to my members first when I see them. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. So I will be jumping out of line. I see my spot in line. Jonathan, Lex, Joe, Connor, Adam. I see all you. I see everybody's questions. Sit tight. Please don't spam the chat with multiple comments of the same question. I see everybody's questions. I will get to them. But I got to get to my members first. They're the ones who they're helping to keep the lights on around here. Let's see. You're playing Dak over Baker because Baker at quarterback. You're playing Dak because Baker lost his top two weapons. You're playing. I mean, yeah, you are. Come on, David. You are sure who to play this week. You're playing Breece Hall. You have Bijan and Breece. You play both. Don't worry about Evans being out. You're perfectly fine. You could play Higgins. You could play McMillan. And I guess I would play McBride over Kincaid. I don't remember how many starting spots you have in your starting lineup. But, you're starting those two stud running backs. If it's start two wide receivers, you start Higgins and McMillan. If Higgins is out, you could play Keenan Allen. And you put Kareem Hunt in your flex. If it's start three wide receivers, it's Higgins, McMillan, and I guess Olave. He's hard to trust with Spencer Rattler in there, but he's more talented than these other guys, so he probably has to be in. But you could play Keenan Allen over Olave if you want to just rock with a guy who's getting the better quarterback play, and that's Allen. So, yeah, Breece, Bijan, and then Higgins, McMillan, Higgins, Allen, McMillan if it's start three wide receivers. If Higgins is out, then it's Allen, McMillan, Olave. That's what you do. Kareem Hunt in the flex. Yeah, you're starting those two stud running backs every week, though. That's set and forget. And Kareem Hunt in the flex. If those three guys are playing, they're in your lineup no matter what. No matter what. And then I guess I would go McBride over Kincaid. Both have been disappointing. It's a good reminder. It's so easy to get sucked in by like tantalizing, enticing young tight ends in the draft. And then you draft them in the 4th or 5th round, and it's just like, why did I do that? We're all victim to it. We all fell victim to it this year. Tight end ADP was so high. Not just you, David. We all did it. We all got sucked in. And now they're all disappointing. Always wait for your Cade Ottens to come along at tight end. Or like, who else has emerged this year? Like your Tucker Crafts. Always wait for those guys to emerge. But yeah. Dak, Brees, Bijan, Higgins, McMillan, Allen, Olave in that order at wide receiver, depending on who's in and who's out and how many you start, and Kareem Hunt in the flex. Okay. Let's see. I have my spot in line. I told you guys I wouldn't lose it, and I didn't. Bench 1, Achane, Hunt, Mason, Walker. Damn. These are some really good options. Mason gets the Cowboys. Walker gets the Bills. You have to start Walker. You have to start. What's the scoring here? Full PPR. You have to start Walker. I think you have to start Kareem Hunt. And I mean, Achane has his ceiling back with Tua. With Tua back in the mix, Achane's ceiling is back. I think you sit Mason, which I don't really love to do. It's a great matchup against the Cowboys, but you're talking about 4 really strong high-end options here. Walker, Hunt, and Achane are my answer. Are who you play. I think you bench Mason. And Mason's a start for 99% of people. In this particular instance, I think he's on your bench. Because the answer would be Achane if obviously would be the sit if Tua was out. But Tua's back. That means Achane's ceiling is back. When Achane is playing with his ceiling in play, he's in your starting lineup. We have to go back to the well with him. Now that Tua is back. Now that Tua's back. Burrow or Purdy? Burrow. Burrow. Even if Higgins is out, I mean, Purdy is down Brandon Ayuk. He might be down Deebo Samuel. Burrow at home against the Eagles. Yeah, I'll take Burrow. And he's just playing better. Purdy's been solid, and he's running this year, so that's good. But I'm not chasing 2 rushing touchdowns. I think that's what he had last week, right? I think he had 2 rushing scores. I'm not chasing that, though. He's not gonna do that again. That's just a really random stat for a quarterback. I'll take Joe Burrow. Especially if Higgins is active. Even if Higgins isn't active, he still has Jamar Chase, and Burrow has been throwing the ball really well this year. One tight end, 1 wide receiver, 1 flex. Njoku over Ferguson. Njoku's a top 3 play this week because, Jameis is in. The Ravens are gettable through the air. Amari Cooper's gone. Njoku's a top 3 play at tight end. The only guys I'm probably starting over David Njoku this week are Bowers and Kittle. assuming Kittle plays. So give me Njoku at your tight end spot. Your wide receiver is a little bit more difficult to determine. I really don't want to play Christian Kirk now that Evan Ingram has been stealing all of his opportunities. I really don't want to play Christian Kirk at wide receiver. You may have to. Against Green Bay, it's not a bad option. Yeah, it's a lot of ragtag. I would play Dowdle as at your flex because I'm not starting two tight ends. Not today, not tomorrow, not ever. I'm not starting two tight ends. So I play Njoku. I play Dowdle at your flex because while there are a little bit of concerns with Dowdle's like usage, the snaps that he played the last time we saw the Cowboys, and also with Dalvin Cook getting elevated from the practice squad, like is Dowdle's work going to get cut into? I don't think it should, but I guess it's possible. Still, of these wide receiver options that you have, I don't feel strongly enough to play two of these guys. I would rather just pick one and hope for the best. I'll play Njoku at tight end. I'll play Dowdle in your flex. I guess I'll play Demario Douglas against the Jets. The Jets are banged up on defense. Yeah. Njoku, Demario Douglas at wide receiver, Dowdle in the flex because I'm not starting two tight ends, and these wide receivers are dart throws, and that's where Christian Kirk is now. He is in the dart throw category since Evan Ingram came back healthy. What's going on, Derek? Good to see you, man. Let me know if you need anything. Debo or DK Metcalf rest of season? Debo, assuming he gets over the pneumonia. And that's not, hyperbole or anything or whatever you want to call it. Hopefully he actually gets better, gets healthy, because that's nothing to mess with. Debo, I mean, he's the more dynamic playmaker, and Brandon Ayuk is gone for the year. Like, Debo's going to handle as much work as he can once he is over this. When he is over the illness, and it's possible he plays this week. Once he's definitively over the illness, I mean, he's the guy that I'd rather have. Because Metcalf is banged up too. He's doubtful this week with a foot injury, I think. So they're both nursing stuff. But I'll take Debo. He's more dynamic. We were, expectations are higher for Debo, indicated by the fact that we were drafting Debo a round and a half earlier than Metcalf, and now Ayuk is out for the year. Debo. And then Kmet or Kincaid, rest of season, take your pick. I mean, Kmet's past his bye week. Kincaid isn't, so that's an advantage to Kmet. I mean, they're both like low-end tight end ones. They could, any given week you could get a top 6 performance from one. Any other week you could get the tight end 27 on the week. Like, they're really random. Kmet's past his bye week. Kincaid has the better quarterback, but Amari Cooper is there now to soak up more targets. I'll give like a slight nod to Kincaid, I guess, because he gets to catch passes from Josh Allen. But we're talking about two low-end tight end ones, which means any given week, there'll be a tight end 1. Any other given week, there'll be a boring tight end 2 that doesn't give you a whole lot to work with. I'll give the slight nod to Kincaid, I guess, because there's still a wide open opportunity for targets for him. Even with Amari Cooper's addition, because Kmet still competes with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. I'll give the slight nod, I guess, to Kincaid. All right. Derek's got a question. So again, I see Miguel, Grand Slam, Zubat, Glenn. I see all you guys. I see your questions. Evan, thanks for coming in and hanging out. Just asking for some patience. But I got to move down and take care of my members. That is a perk of being a member of the channel. You will get your questions will be line jumpers. Pick 3, 2 wide receivers in a flex. Wilson, Higgins, Reed, Monty. Yeah, I guess at this point, everybody but Higgins because he was a late addition to the injury report. Like if you have front-line top-end options and all 4 of these guys are front-line top-end options, then pick the 3 with the least amount of warts. And right now, Higgins has a major wart, a late injury ad during the week. That could mean nothing. It could mean that we can no longer trust or rely on him or count on him. So, like, I'd rather just not deal with it. I'll take Wilson, I'll take Reed, and I'll take Montgomery. If Higgins is active and it turns out he's off the injury report and he's good to go, and those are all the vibes. I mean, in full PPR, you could play him over Montgomery. It is a tough matchup for the Lions. The Titans are pretty good at stopping the run. But we got to probably take that one up to kickoff. We got to see what Higgins' status is. Like if he's off the injury report, but he might be limited, we got to see what the report is. But I don't mind moving off of Higgins for these names, given that Higgins picked up the midweek injury. Like, I hate late additions to the injury report. They're the worst. So, yep, let's move off of Higgins. But good to see you, Derek. Let me know if you need anything else. Start 1. Tua, Rodgers, Kyler Murray. Do we play Tua in his first game back? I don't know if we'd play Tua in his first game back. It's enticing. Arizona is the most favorable matchup of the names of the guys that you have. They give up a lot of passing yards per game. So that would be good for Tua. Kyler's just been so boring this year. He's hard to trust. And the Dolphins don't give up a lot of yards through the air, and Kyler's not throwing for a lot of yards. Yeah, I would play Tua in his first game back. Because I don't trust Aaron Rodgers. I know he's got Wilson now, and I know he's got Adams now, and you know, that could turn into the 4-touchdown game here and there. I don't want to play Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been, the fantasy finishes just haven't been there. He's super flex only. I'll play Tua in his first game. I know it's his first game back, but he's got amazing weapons, and it's a good matchup. Like, Kyler's coming through on the ground, but, like, he's doing nothing through the air. When you're one-dimensional, like, obviously the Konami code, the quarterback that can run, is a huge cheat code in fantasy, but when you're giving very little through the air, it kind of, like, you know, now you're just you're boring, but in a different way. I'll play Tua. I'll play Tua. And yeah, Derek, if Higgins gets cleared, you can play him over any one of those guys. Maybe over. I like Montgomery, but maybe over Montgomery. Tough matchup against the Titans. But yeah, let's see what the latest is. Whatever details that we get leading up to kickoff. Kareem Hunt, James Conner, Jacobs, and Achane start 2. These are all good options. I mean, Kareem Hunt against the Raiders. I think that's where you got to go. That's one of them. And then, I mean, Achane's ceiling is back with Tua. And when we're talking about Achane's ceiling, that's a top 5 finish at the position any given week. I would go Kareem Hunt and I would go Devon Achane. Because Kareem Hunt gets the Raiders. It's a beautiful matchup. And Kareem Hunt's been killing it. And Achane gets his ceiling back. And Arizona is a gettable matchup on the ground. Connor and Jacobs are both really good options. That's good depth to have at running back. You want to rock with that rest of season. Like, don't trade any of those guys. Just hang on to your running back depth because that's good to have. But I would start Hunt and I would start Achane. Great matchups. Hunt's playing well. Achane's ceiling is back with Tua back. Is Laporta's season going to turn around? I mean, yeah. He's got the opportunity now with Jameson Williams suspended for this week and next week. Laporta was the dude last year while JMO was still kind of finding his way. Now JMO's out of the picture. It's make or break time for Sam Laporta. It's fair to say that he is not going to, I don't think he's going to bounce back in any type of way where it justifies where he was drafted this year. I think that ship has sailed. He would need to put up historic numbers for the rest of the season to justify where we took Sam Laporta. And the odds of those happening is not super strong. He's got a short-term window here to deliver some good numbers, but he has to do it in both games. He can't dud one game and have another, he can't dud in week 8 and play well in week 9, or play well in week 8 and dud in week 9, because then JMO comes back, and now it's like we're back to this like boring option at tight end who has fallen short of expectations, but we have to start him because we don't have a better option, and we drafted him in the 3rd round or early 4th round maybe. He has to do well in both of these starts, and that maybe, gives him, like, maybe that propels his season forward with some positive momentum rest of season, even with JMO's return. But he has to do it now. He has to do it tomorrow against the Titans, and he has to do it in week 9 as well. Yes, another wide receiver will take JMO's reps. Laporta needs to be the one that commands JMO's targets. He needs to pick those targets up. If he does not, in both weeks, then yes, you are stuck with like a bad situation at tight end that you probably are going to have a really hard time getting out of. So yeah, the pressure's on. The time for Sam Laporta to turn his season around starts tomorrow. DJ Moore, Debo, Devontae Smith, Amari Cooper. This is a pick 2. These are all really good options. DJ Moore gets Washington. Debo is questionable on Sunday Night Football against the Cowboys. Although the possibility exists that he plays because he practiced this week. Devontae Smith gets the Bengals in a potential bounce back spot, and Amari Cooper is, I believe, on the road in Seattle. I would play. See, this is what makes it tricky because Debo is the guy that would normally be number 1 in these rankings. But he's playing on Sunday Night Football. Well, if he plays, he's in the Sunday Night Football game and he's questionable. If Debo is active, you have to play him. So the vibe needs to be going into Sunday Night Football, or we need to see Debo removed from the injury report before the late game or the early games kick off. If that is the case, Debo's in your starting lineup. If he is still questionable and the reports are that he may play, but he's going to be on a snap count, I would say plan to play Devontae Smith and plan to play DJ Moore. Because Devontae Smith plays in the early window. I think he's due for a bounce back after a bad week last week. The Eagles didn't throw the ball a lot. They should have to throw the ball more tomorrow on the road against Joe Burrow, and in a very beatable matchup, by the way. I would play Devontae Smith, and I would plan to play DJ Moore against Washington. If the vibe is that Debo Samuel is expected to be active for Sunday Night Football and is not expected to be limited, then I would play Debo. If the vibe is that Debo is either not expected to play or could be on a pitch count, could be on a snap count, but is trending toward being active, but will be limited, then I would play Amari Cooper. So I plan to play Devontae Smith. I would plan to play DJ Moore. I will play Debo if he's active. If we don't know for sure what that looks like before the late games kick off, then I would just play Amari Cooper and hope that Debo doesn't go nuclear on your bench. That is that's an unfortunate situation that it's not anybody's fault. It's just like, I hate when we have questionable players on Sunday Night Football because my only alternatives are guys that play before he does. So ears and eyes close to the ground. Keep tabs on Debo's status. If he's active, we got to play him. If he's active but expected to be limited, I would want to pivot. And obviously, if he's out, he's out. What's going on, Jake? Good to see you, man. That's awesome that you played Puka. That was a ballsy play. That was a ballsy move to play Puka, and holy hell, it worked out. It was great to see him return in the way that he did, the fashion that he did. The vibes and the reports on Puka's status moving forward rest of season as recently as a couple weeks ago have been so negative. We can't freaking trust anything anymore, man. We can't trust any news updates or injury updates or status updates about these players. It's like, oh, he might miss at least another month. He comes back a little bit before that timeline and kills it. It's like, these NFL teams are like playing mind games or whatever. They're not giving full information. And I understand why, but we're, from a fantasy perspective, obviously they don't care about us, but we are. It makes things difficult to figure out from there as far as what to do with your lineup sometimes when we get conflicting reports. But Puka's all good. So that was good to see. And if you started him, congratulations. Andrews or Kraft, Tillman or Pearsall. Yeah, I hate these. I hate these tight end decisions, man. I do. Andrews gets Cleveland, and he's been playing well recently. Tucker Kraft gets the Jags. Of course, Mark Andrews is on a heater now. Because I'd rather play Tucker Kraft. I just, I guess Mark Andrews is getting healthy. And so that's really, that's good for his prospects rest of season. It's a tough matchup against Cleveland. I think I would make Andrews prove it one more week, and I would play Kraft. Jacksonville's getting cooked by everybody, including tight ends. They've given up 3 scores over the past 3 weeks. Tight ends are everybody's having their way against the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Tight ends are as well. Andrews gets a tough matchup against Cleveland. I know that he's on a 2-week heater, but I would rather play Kraft. If Andrews does well again this week, then Andrews can go back as your set and forget tight end 1. But let's see it for a third straight week in a bad matchup by the numbers. I'll play Kraft. As far as Tillman or Pearsall, that is a true dart throw, especially given the fact that we don't know what Debo's status is going into Sunday Night Football. Cedric Tillman, we know, figures to have a rock-solid role, and it's a good matchup against Baltimore. Pearsall is probably in a slightly better situation in the 49ers offense. No Brandon Ayuk, no Jawan Jennings. He will be involved no matter what. But if Debo and Kittle are both active, then how many opportunities is he going to get? Because we're probably not going to know the answer to all of those questions before kickoff, I will slightly lean Tillman. I'll slightly lean Tillman, but they are true dart throws. Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts. I mean, yeah, I mean, you're talking about two top 5 quarterback options. I would play Hurts. I would play Hurts. He continues to deliver. He continues to deliver QB1 performances every week, and I know Love does as well, but Hurts has been doing it for longer. And it's such a good matchup against the Bengals. It's a good matchup for Love as well. But like Hurts, once again, QB4. He's been the QB10 or better in 5 of his 6 games played. His floor is so ridiculously high. And in this matchup where it could be a potential shootout against the Bengals, I'll say Hurts. It's so close. Obviously, Love is incredibly good. His floor is the QB 14. Hurts had one really bad QB2 week, but other than that, has been the QB 10 or better. I'll say Hurts. In this matchup against the Bengals, where on the other side is another really good offense, so a potential shootout is brewing tomorrow, I'll say Hurts. Bateman or Tank Dell if Flowers doesn't play. I'll go back to the well with Dell for one more week. No Nico Collins yet again. Dell should have caught a touchdown. He dropped it last week, so we can root for some positive course correction there. Bateman's a bit of a dart throw in a tougher matchup by the numbers. I'll go back to the well with Tank Dell. Let's see. Start 2. Lockett, McMillan, Douglas, Worthy. The first 2. Start Lockett without so you have your replacements. I think you have your answer. Sorry you lost Godwin. I lost Godwin as well in multiple places. We're going to try to win the championship for Chris Godwin. He did so much for us for the first 7 weeks of the season. We have to move forward without him, though, unfortunately. You have his replacement in McMillan, and you have Metcalf's replacement in Lockett. I would just play those 2. I mean, they've got increased opportunity coming their way. I'll play Lockett, and I'll play McMillan. Yeah, you have the guys. You have the guys to replace them, which is good. You don't see wide receiver handcuffs a whole lot, but in your situation, you got the guys that are direct beneficiaries of unfortunate absences in Godwin and Metcalf. Yeah, play Lockett, play McMillan. That's where I would go. Oh, you meant Olave. Let me go back up to the top of that question just to see if my answer is any different, because Olave is really difficult to trust this week. I found it. Olave. No, I would still go Keenan Allen and McConkey over Olave in full PPR. Olave's the Spencer Rattler is so it's so difficult to trust. 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. Garrett, Neighbors, Cooper, London. Who sits from this group? Not Wilson, not Neighbors. It's between Cooper and London. And Tampa Bay's secondary is very beatable. I would sit Cooper. I mean, I like Cooper a lot. And now his second full week, or first full week with the Bills, second week in general with the Bills, a little bit more immersed in the playbook, should play a larger complement of snaps tomorrow. Should be a little bit more familiar with the offense. But I got to rank those other 3 guys ahead of him. Give me Garrett Wilson. Give me Malik Neighbors. Give me Drake London. Even in a tough matchup, I know Malik Neighbors didn't have a great game last week. We go back, like Neighbors in a very short amount of time is the type of guy where it's like we go back to the well with him until he gives us a reason to have to consider sitting him, and that would require multiple bad weeks in a row. We're not there yet. Otten or Ferguson? I like Otten this week. I do. And if you yourself are telling, I don't believe in a guy, if I don't believe in Ferguson, then play the other guy. That being said, I do think I slightly prefer Otten to Ferguson this week. I mean, no Mike Evans, no Chris Godwin. Baker's going to be looking for some continuity, some familiarity in the passing attack. That might be something he has to develop with the new wide receivers kind of on the fly. He should have that already with Otten. And, it's a division game for them. This is if the Bucs want to stay on course to make the playoffs, they need to win division games. I mean, go to what has been working for you. Cade Otton has been working for this Bucs offense recently, and now he needs to step into a larger role out of necessity. I mean, I'll take Cade. I'll take Cade Otton. It's close. We're talking about 2 tight end 1 options. That doesn't mean a whole lot to call somebody a tight end 1 because they could easily end up as the tight end 24 on the week. Because that's how tight end goes. But I'll say Otton. He could be the number 1 target in the pecking order this week. And I already got this question. Give me Lockett. Give me McMillan. Trade question. You got Nico Collins. You give up Worthy, Reed, and Bigsby. It depends on what your running back depth is because Nico's awesome. And I guess do we have an update on his return? Like, I believe the last I saw on Nico Collins is that he's trending, like, the timeline is good. Like, he's on track. Yeah, that's the last I saw. That was 3 days ago. No setbacks experience with the hamstring injury. He will be able to return when first eligible, which will be Sunday, November 10th against the Lions. That is 2 weeks from now. If you're in great shape, and what I mean by that is you have a good record, you've scored a lot of points, you've got a lot of running back depth because you gave up a running back without getting one in return, and you gave up a really good wide receiver in Jaden Reed. If you are sitting pretty, you're 5-2, you're killing it, you scored a lot of points, you have a good record, you've got good running back depth, I'm okay with it. Without knowing who your running backs are, though, I can't give a grade for you. Because you gave up a 3-for-1. And while Worthy is like an okay, like kind of just fill in to complete a trade, Reed and Bigsby will be regular contributors probably for the rest of the season for anybody's team. Reed, I think, is a weekly start no matter what, and Bigsby is on the flex radar any given week, especially if he becomes the 1A for the Jags offense. It depends on the rest of your team and what that looks like. I don't know who your running back depth is. If you're weak at running back, I'm not going to like it as much. Feel free to follow up with the rest of your team, and then I can give you same deal. You gave up, Debo for Kupp 1-for-1. That's fine. I mean, for the season, you want to believe, go for Cooper Kupp instead. That's fine. I might slightly prefer Debo with Puka looking like Puka and Debo not dealing with Brandon Ayuk rest of season. But let me know what your running back depth looks like, and I can give you some thoughts on the other trade. I might slightly prefer Debo, assuming he gets over the pneumonia over Kupp, just because Debo, no Ayuk, Kupp, Puka's back, and Puka is healthy sooner than I thought he would be. Traded Swift and Tyreek for Saquon and Metcalf. That's a huge running back upgrade, but it's a pretty sizable wide receiver downgrade. You're stout at running back. Saquon, Achane, Ramondre as your RB3 is perfectly fine. Are Brian Thomas and Keenan Allen your top 2 wide receivers? I mean, I guess that's okay. Brian Thomas has been awesome. Keenan Allen's passed his bye week, and the Bears' passing offense, the last time we saw them, is looking like they're starting to maybe figure things out. Hopefully that continues for them tomorrow against Washington. Yeah, I mean, it's fair. Metcalf needs to get healthy, though, because you're not going to be able to play him this week if he's doubtful. Saquon for Swift, big upgrade at running back. Tyreek to Metcalf, big downgrade at wide receiver. Maybe not as significant of a drop-off, but Metcalf needs to get healthy. I'm fine with it because Saquon's a top 3 running back rest of season, and Achane's ceiling is back, but of course Tyreek's ceiling is back as well. Tyreek has wide receiver 1 overall upside. Saquon has running back 1 overall upside. Swift should be an RB2. Metcalf should be a wide receiver 2 at the end of the day. Yeah, that's fine. You got stronger at running back. I'll take it. But you need Metcalf to get healthy. That's what this kind of hinges on. If Metcalf comes back healthy and gives you some wide receiver 2 production for the rest of the season, then you'll be in good shape. Six players out. Jesus. Sorry to hear that. No, this looks good. The way you have it looks fine. Do you not start a tight end? And is that why there are good tight ends available on waivers? I mean, you have the right pieces in. You have the right pieces in just based on who you can start and what you have available to you. Hopefully you get healthy soon, but you have the right pieces in. Garrett Wilson or Brian Thomas. I mean, Brian Thomas is a stud, but I can't take Garrett Wilson out of my lineup. You can only play one of these dudes. I think it has to be Garrett Wilson. I mean, New England is not a scary matchup. We expect the Jets offense to maybe continue to find their rhythm and groove with Adams now in the mix. But I mean, New England is a beatable matchup through the air. Brian Thomas might see Jair Alexander. That could be a tough matchup for the rookie, even though he is awesome. Brian Thomas Jr. is awesome. Let the record show. I would play Wilson if you can only play one. As far as Russ versus Cousins, I guess I would play Cousins. London, Mooney, Pitts, Bijan. I guess that's a little bit better of a total collection of pass catching talent than Pickens, Freiermuth, Najee Harris, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin. I'll take Cousins. His supporting cast is better. I'll take Cousins. Yeah. Wilson over Brian Thomas, even though I would love to start both. And I'll take Cousins over Russ. Better supporting cast. I got a super from Brandon. Thank you so much, Brandon. Appreciate that. Similar to memberships, supers will be line jumpers as well. You don't have to send a super, but if you are feeling generous, that will be a line jumper. That'll get your question answered in priority order. I see everybody's questions. I just ask for some continued patience as I work through these. But Brandon sending me a super, very kind of you. Appreciate that. So I got to jump down and get to that. This is a trade question. Najee, Keenan Allen, and Dowdle for DJ Moore and Tank Bigsby. If I'm acquiring the DJ Moore side, if I can make this an even 3 for 3 where I get, whatever, the last running back on the guy's bench, because unless my trade partner is acquiring my 3 players for his 2 and has the roster space to make the 3 for 2 happen without dropping anybody, if that's the case, then so be it. I would first want to confirm that they don't need to drop somebody to make this trade go through. If they do, then just tell them to include that player in the trade. Whoever the last player is on their bench, just throw them in. See if you can get like the RB 5 or 6 on the team's bench just to get a player back. Najee and Dowdle, pretty good running back depth in a 2 for 1 for Bigsby, who is ascending, but is not guaranteed to just automatically take over the Jags backfield. Moore for Allen is a pretty good upgrade though at wide receiver. I think I'd rather, unless you can get another running back in the trade. I know you're getting an upgrade going from DJ Moore to Keenan Allen, and that's a pretty good upgrade. But you're giving up 2 running backs I think I'd rather have for 1 running back that I would rank rest of season below those 2 guys. If that makes sense. And the gap between Moore and Keenan Allen isn't enough. I'll take the 3 side. I'll take Najee, Allen, and Dowdle now that I think about it. I saw DJ Moore's name and I went, ooh, DJ Moore. I'll take the 3. I will take Najee, Allen, and Dowdle because I'd rather have Najee than Bigsby. And I think I know that Dowdle's usage with the Cowboys is currently in flux a little bit. He didn't play a ton of snaps in week 6. They were on bye this past week. And Dalvin Cook was elevated from the practice squad. So does that mean that Dowdle's opportunities are about to go down, even though he's been their most effective running back thus far? He still is going to have a role regardless. And I think he's closer to 1A opportunities than Bigsby is because his competition, Rico's, are 2 dead running backs, Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook. The gap between DJ Moore and Keenan Allen is not big enough for me to say yes to the DJ Moore side. I would rather have Najee, Keenan Allen, and Rico Dowdle than DJ Moore and Tank Bigsby. Yep. I would rather have the first side, the Najee side. Unless another running back can get added to the DJ Moore side, I'd prefer the Najee side. Appreciate the super, Brandon. Thank you so much. I got another super from Don. Thank you. Appreciate the generosity. Half PPR, Waddle versus Demario Douglas. Waddle. Let's go. Let's throw some trust and confidence behind the Dolphins offense now that Tua is healthy. Tua brings the ceiling back to this Dolphins offense. He brings the ceiling back for Tyreek. He brings the ceiling back for Jalen Waddle. He brings the ceiling back for Devon Achane. So we're going to go back to the well with Waddle now that Tua's back. Warren versus Ramondre. I like what we are seeing. I like the trend that we are seeing from Jalen Warren. He's healthy now. I believe Ramondre is too. And Ramondre, we know, will run as the Patriots RB1. He's fully practicing. He's off the injury report. He's going to play in a not bad matchup against the Jets. I'll play Ramondre over Jalen Warren for 1 more week. Ramondre's off the injury report. I think we'll see a larger complement of snaps for him. I'll take Ramondre. Warren's going to be in a split with Najee Harris. I know Ramondre hasn't been great. He was good weeks 1 and 2, and then he had a nice week 5. Didn't play week 6, dudded last week. He's come through here and there. I know the floor has been bad, but the ceiling has been there. The double-digit scoring has happened. Their offensive line play is not very good recently because they lost some guys. Their center, they lost for the season. They're dealing with some other injuries. But I do think Drake May gives this offense a little bit of a boost in a way that Jacoby Brissett does not. It's a good matchup for the Steelers running backs. If you don't trust Ramondre, it's fine to go with Jalen Warren. It's just I don't know that we're going to see the full complement of snaps that we expect from Jalen Warren. And will they continue to go to Najee Harris as the 1A? We just haven't seen Warren. We just haven't seen a ton yet because he's been hurt. At least Ramondre has played. Not week 6, but every other week other than that. And Warren has missed a lot. Warren missed a couple of games and has had his role severely limited to open the season because he was dealing with an injury coming in. I think I play Ramondre. I know it's not a great feeling, but Ramondre has, we have seen Ramondre come through with some really good performances this year. We haven't seen that yet from Jaylen Warren. He's trending up, but we haven't seen it yet. I give the slight nod to Ramondre. If you don't believe in a player, I mean, now this is my final, and Don, thank you again for the super. Appreciate it, Don. If you don't believe in the player, don't play the player. I can only get, I can give you all of my thoughts, and if you are like, that's cool, man, I don't agree, that's totally fine. Play Warren. If you are like, screw that, I'm going to play Warren because I don't trust the other guy, then, don't trust the other guy. I don't want to talk you into something that you don't believe. I would just go off of, maybe I'm a sucker for like seeing past performances, and therefore it's like, okay, he's given us something this year, whereas the other guy hasn't. And that's kind of where I'm at, and that's pretty much it. I would play Ramondre. I understand if you don't trust him, though. I'll give, like, let's see if Drake May can continue to kind of like prop this offense up a little bit more, even though they not only have bad offensive line play, they have offensive line injuries. Waddle definitively for me, though, over Demario Douglas with Tua back. But best of luck, Don. Thank you for the super. I know that's a annoying running back question to have to figure out. I slightly lean Ramondre. Hopefully, whatever direction you go, hopefully it's the right call. Full PPR, dude. Full PPR, H-Hand, you can only play what? One of these guys? I mean, you're talking about 3 frontline RB1s. I mean, Brees against New England. You can't go wrong. You're gonna have to, if you have to bench 2 of these dudes, or even one of these dudes, you have an RB1 on your bench. If it's start 1, I'll start Brees. If it's start 2, I guess I'll start Brees and Gibbs. I don't want to bench any one of these guys. They're all frontline RB1s, the H-Hand included with Tua back. But I'll go Brees if you can only pick one of those 3 guys. Keenan Allen, Bateman, Lockett, Demario Douglas. Bateman is tempting, of course. Bateman gets a boost if Zay Flowers is out, but for now, we don't know what is. I gotta look at Flowers. I don't think we know like definitively what's going to happen with him. Officially listed questionable. We don't know if he's going to play. Bateman gets a boost, but if Flowers is in, then he's harder to trust. Metcalf is doubtful, so Lockett we already can give that boost to. I will give you Lockett and Keenan Allen. I'll trust Keenan Allen with the Bears coming out of their bye week in a good matchup against Washington. Washington's been better on defense of late. Let's see how they do against the Bears, who the last time we saw them was in London and their offense looked good. And now coming off their bye week, let's see how they can do. I'll take Keenan Allen and I will take Tyler Lockett. If Zay Flowers is out, you could put Bateman in over one of those 2 guys, but I honestly might just keep them both in. Because it's not a great matchup against Cleveland by the numbers. You trust the Ravens offense, but who specifically delivers, that's a little bit more volatile of a question. Yeah, I'll take Allen and Lockett. I got Derek's questions. Appreciate you, Derek, again. Start 1. Waddle, Devontae Smith, Tank Dell. I mean, I want to believe in Waddle with Tua back. Devontae Smith is in a bounce back spot tomorrow against the Bengals. He didn't do anything last week. These are all really good options. And Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle are in very similar situations, right? A.J. Brown dominates number one targets for the Eagles. Tyreek Hill dominates number one targets for the Dolphins. So Smith and Waddle kind of need to do they need to do more with less often. They're good enough to make that happen. Whereas Dell kind of has, he works with Nico or Stephon Diggs at this point in his career isn't dominating targets the way that A.J. Brown and Tyreek Hill are. I'll say Dell. I'll give the nod to Dell. I don't feel great about that. But he's dominating. He's getting a lot of targets. He's getting more targets than these other two guys with Nico Collins out of the picture. That sucks that you can only play one of these guys. I would want to be able to start at least two. Devontae Smith on the road, Cincinnati, could be a shootout. Jalen Waddle against Arizona, good matchup. Potential for a shootout. Although Kyler is harder to trust in a shootout. I think my definitive answer is Dell has the best situation, but from a talent perspective, Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle are more talented than Tank Dell. I'll say Devontae Smith. Because Tua, first game back, should elevate the offense, but maybe we give it a game. Devontae Smith, bounce back spot, very beatable Bengals secondary, potential for a shootout, good quarterback play, Joe Burrow on one side. Jalen Hurts, from a fantasy perspective, puts up a lot of strong numbers, so that should help Devontae Smith. I'll say Devontae Smith. That's my definitive answer. Tank Dell has the best opportunity, but he's done the least with of these guys. And Waddle, I won't hold his recent lack of production against him because he's had horrendous quarterback play. I'll take Devontae Smith here. That was a roundabout way of me getting to that answer. I'll say Devontae Smith. Good matchup, good spot for potential lots of points to be scored. I think he bounces back after doing poorly last week. McConkey, Leggett, or Sterling Shepard. We are at the bottom of the barrel. I would go McConkey if he is healthy. We've seen some flashes from Ladd. Listed as questionable. Returned to practice on Friday after being sidelined on Wednesday and Thursday. So that is a good sign for Ladd's availability for their game against the New Orleans Saints. A very beatable matchup for him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's got 4 catches or more in 4 of 6 games this year. Cleared 40 yards receiving in his last 4 games. We're not talking about stellar production here, but we're just looking for some decent wide receiver 3 numbers from this group. Leggett, of course, could rise to the number 1 option, but he's catching the ball from Bryce Young, and I just don't trust that right now. I'll play Ladd, assuming he returns tomorrow. Or excuse me, if he plays tomorrow. He missed practice. He didn't miss last week's game, but he did miss practice this week. I'll say Ladd. He's tracking he's tracking toward playing in the sense that we can have optimism because he returned to practice Friday. I'll say Ladd. Leggett, catching passes from Bryce Young, no thanks. Shepard, I mean, he's 31 years old at this point. Not that that's that old, but he's been a depth guy. might even still be behind McMillan, Trey Palmer, Cade Otton, maybe even like Rashad White in the pecking order. I'll say McConkey. Pollard or Dalvin Cook? I don't trust Dalvin Cook. 2024 Dalvin Cook? No thanks. I will take Tony Pollard even in a bad matchup. Tajay Spears is out. Pollard is his team's RB1. He will dominate the opportunities. Give me Tony Pollard. I don't understand what the Cowboys don't like. I know that Rico Dowdle isn't the best running back in the league, but he's the best running back that they have. Like, why are they trying to force the issue with these fossil running backs, Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook? These guys are cooked. But no, I'll go Tony Pollard. I know that he's his team's RB1, and I know that he should dominate opportunities because Tajay Spears is out. A.J. Brown or Reed? The answer is A.J. Brown. Like, all day, every day. Jaden Reed is awesome, but A.J. Brown is better. Like, Jaden Reed's a great player. A.J. Brown is a better player. And they're both in beautiful matchups. It's a shame you can't play both. You play A.J. Brown. He's not coming out of your lineup, not even if there's a fire. Tua or Kyler? This is, I guess, where I will go Kyler, but I do not have all the confidence in the world in Kyler the way I wish I did. He's running the ball. He's running the ball effectively, but it's not like putting him over the top as a top 5 quarterback on the season. It's what's keeping him afloat, which means he's doing nothing through the air. He maybe gives you 200 yards passing and a touchdown. That's a good day for Kyler these days. That being said, Tua in his first game back, there could be some lumps, some early game jitters, and Tua doesn't run at the level that Kyler runs. I'll say Kyler. He needs to start throwing the ball with more efficiency and volume, both, than he is currently. He's averaging like 175 passing yards a game. That's not going to get it done. But he's running, and he runs more than Tua does, so I'll say Kyler. I got the A.J. Brown Reed question. The answer is A.J. Brown all day. Olave, McMillan, or Ridley? If we can only start one of these guys, they're all in the same category here. Olave is hard to trust because of the quarterback situation, and it's not a good matchup. Ridley's on the injury report. There's more opportunities for him now because DeAndre Hopkins has been traded. Olave catches the ball from Spencer Rattler. Ridley catches the ball from Mason Rudolph. McMillan is ascending to a starting role, not as talented as these two guys, but catches the ball from Baker Mayfield. And Evans and Godwin are out. I think I say McMillan. This is where we're at. Welcome to 2024 fantasy football, where we are suggesting Jalen McMillan over Chris Olave and Calvin Ridley, just like we all drew it up back in July. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I'll play McMillan. He's catching the ball from the best quarterback of this bunch, and he's not on the injury report. Olave isn't either, but he did just have a concussion. And Ridley's on the injury report with a foot injury. I'll say McMillan. Trade Jonathan Brooks for Bucky Irving. I don't really want to do that. I'm stashing Jonathan Brooks in a lot of places. If somebody offered me If somebody offered me Bucky Irving for Jonathan Brooks, I think I would say no. I want to see what I have. I'm curious to see what I have. They made him a second-round pick in the draft, knowing that he would miss this amount of time. I think I'd rather just see what I have. Bucky is good. Bucky's a good football player, but Rachaad White and Sean Tucker are staying involved in that backfield. Now, obviously, Brooks will be contending with Chuba Hubbard, but they're going to want to see what they have as a young rebuilding team going nowhere. They want to see what they have in Jonathan Brooks. He's going to get, he's going to get more, I would think, more snaps and touches when he's back to fully up to speed. Brooks will be getting on the field more frequently than any one of Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, or Sean Tucker. I would rather have Brooks. I would rather keep Brooks and find out what I have. If he's not good this year, then I'll sink with my own draft pick. But if he is good this year, I don't want to sell him before I gave him a chance on my team. I'll just keep Brooks. Trey Palmer, Troy Franklin, Josh Palmer, Michael Wilson, Tyler Boyd. I hope this is a pick one. This is dart throw after dart throw after dart throw. How do the Bucks officially have their starting lineup? McMillan is the wide receiver 1, and actually it's Sterling Shepard who is listed ahead of Trey Palmer on the depth chart. So is Trey Palmer smoke and mirrors? Boy. Is man. Any chance is Rashad Bateman available on waivers by any chance? Is Jalen Tolbert available on waivers by any chance? Did someone drop Josh Downs? Did someone drop Roma Dunze? Did someone drop Dontavian Wicks? I would take any one of those names I just mentioned over these guys. If the answer is that, these are your best options, I guess Palmer, I guess Josh Palmer against the Saints. He's going to see Lattimore potentially, but the Saints defense hasn't been very good this year. Quentin Johnston's out or doubtful, not trending toward playing. Everybody else on their offense is on the injury report. I don't trust Trey Palmer because as the Bucks depth chart currently stands, Sterling Shepard is ahead of Trey Palmer on the depth chart. That might not mean anything, but a lot of times it does. If Rashad Bateman or Jalen Tolbert, Wicks is probably taken if these are your best options, but yeah. Cedric Tillman. If any of those guys are available. Ricky Pearsall, Bateman, Tolbert. If not, then I'll go Josh Palmer, I guess. Good matchup, good opportunities. I'll take Palmer. Everyone else is rostered. All right, cool. That's a competitive ass league. I respect it. I'll take Josh Palmer. I officially don't trust Trey Palmer because he's listed behind Sterling Shepard on the depth chart. I guess you could pick up Sterling Shepard if you want, but I don't know how much faith I have in him either. I'll say Josh Palmer. Let's see. Yeah, I would play Tolbert if you this is a somewhat advantageous situation to be in. I would not play Cowing just because Debo is out. I would think that they're going to run the ball a ton if Debo's out. They'll throw the ball to Kittle. They'll throw the ball to Ricky Pearsall. They don't even have Jawan Jennings. I guess Cowan could. I would not trust Cowan. In fact, that 49ers offense might just go in the tank if Debo's out. I'll play Tolbert because I know that he's going to have a role. I don't think Brandon Cooks isn't back from IR yet, right? Still on injured reserve. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, he has to miss. He has to miss this week. Tolbert. Yeah, you play Debo if he plays. You play Tolbert if Debo's out. That's the easy call. I wouldn't play any of those other guys. I would wait on Debo because you have Tolbert. See, that's a situation where you're okay because you have dart throws as your pivots if Debo can't play, but one of them is in the same game on Sunday night. So you can wait it out, wait for Debo. If Debo's out, Jalen Tolbert is a perfectly fine pivot to go to. San Francisco is not the shutdown unit on defense that they were last year. What's going on, Greg? Good to see you. Just going to jump down quickly. I got to grab my members' questions, but I do have my spot in line. I will get back up to the top after I answer this, so appreciate everybody's patience. If Debo's out, you're starting Dobbs. The problem, Greg, of course, is Dobbs plays in the early window and Debo plays on Sunday Night Football. So if you want to wait on Debo, you do have Pearsall that you could pivot to. Maybe you do that instead. Wait on Debo and play Pearsall if Debo's out. I would love to play Dobbs because I want to play any Packers receiver tomorrow against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But Debo's the type of player that you wait on. If we know going into the early kickoffs that Debo's not expected to play or that the vibes are bad, then play Dobbs. But if we are expecting Debo to play or if we don't have any information after the early kickoffs, I would still wait on Debo and I would play. And then, you could play Pearsall if Debo's out. I would wait on. I would just plan to play Pearsall. You already have him. You don't need to make any more adds or drops. Play the direct backup. It might be rough sledding if Pearsall is operating as the team's wide receiver 1 as a rookie, but he should get some decent volume if Debo is out because Ayuk and Jennings are obviously already out. So wait on Debo, play Pearsall if Debo's out. That's your plan. That's what I would do. I got the Pollard versus Cook question already. The answer is Tony Pollard. No question for me. I'm not playing Dalvin Cook in 2024. Can't do it. You need a flex. Bigsby, Worthy, Myers. Bigsby, right? I mean, I know that I think ETN is questionable. Right? And he also hasn't been very good. Myers is a little tough to trust. Tough matchup, and he had been on the injury report this week. Plus, the Raiders' offense stinks. Worthy's a capable dart throw, but he's a little hit or miss. And with the DeAndre Hopkins addition, that maybe takes some opportunities away from him. Bigsby has popped two out of the Jaguars' last 3 games. He is listed first on the depth chart as well. I think I would play Bigsby. If it's full PPR and you want to start a wide receiver, then maybe go Worthy, but it's half for standard scoring. I would probably play Bigsby. I'll probably just play Bigsby. Because ETN's on the injury report, even if he does play. Looking to stack up on some running back depth. Jaylen Warren. Because he's healthy now. He's past the hamstring injury, and his usage should continue to go up. I don't know if this is going to be a Jaylen Warren week, but I do think he's going to take another step in the right direction because he is healthy. And it's a great matchup by the numbers. I would stash Jaylen Warren. Warren and then Justice Hill, because while Keaton Mitchell is working his way back for a return, he's not quite there yet, and Justice Hill has been good. Justice Hill has been good behind Derrick Henry. They gave him a new contract during the season. To me, Justice Hill's going to remain involved in that offense for the rest of the year. So he would be second for me behind Jaylen Warren. I would go Warren, then Hill, then Charbonnet, then Davis in that order. But I would go Warren first. I do have a crypto wallet, but I don't really pay attention to it. I'm a little asleep at the wheel over there, admittedly. I do have it. I have a little bit in there. It's not a lot of money. Candidly, I'm a bit conservative with my stuff, for better or worse. I'm sure somebody can sell me some. This is why you have to get all, buy all the Ethereum. But I don't look at it that frequently. But so I probably, I don't even know, barely pay attention to that thing, but I do have one. Mooney, McMillan, or Bateman if Zay is out. I think I would play. I mean, it's between McMillan and Mooney. Mooney has just been flat out good. Might just need to go back to the well to Mooney. We're not expecting a 27-point blow-up game for Darnell Mooney, but it is a great matchup by the numbers. It's a good matchup for McMillan. It's a good matchup on both sides. I think Mooney is a little bit more established as a starter for the Falcons than McMillan has been to this point with the Bucs. Now, obviously, they've got studs at wide receiver when healthy, but Mooney is a regular starter for Atlanta naturally. I think I'll go Mooney. I think I'll say Mooney. Even if Zay is out, I would say Mooney over Bateman. He's a pretty regular contributor with a pretty solid floor. Pretty solid floor. Down to where the supers were sent. Thank you again, Brandon and Don. Appreciate the generosity. McConkey or Hopkins? McConkey if he plays. I'll take the younger player, the slot guy, especially if it's PPR. Everybody else on the Chargers offense is banged up. McConkey is as well. He missed Wednesday and Thursday practice, but he returned to practice on Friday. So that is trending in the right direction for his availability. I'll play McConkey. Hopkins might only play 40% of the snaps, and then you need a touchdown for him to come through. And if he doesn't, then we're looking at like a wide receiver 4 or 5 finish from him at best. If McConkey is active, I'll play McConkey. If he's out because he is on the injury report, then obviously it's an easy decision and you can just flip to Hopkins. But I would plan for McConkey. Shepard, Tracy, Franklin, Tolbert, or you can pick up one of those tight ends. First of all, let me just say I kind of like the hybrid, like the uniqueness of this league where you don't have to start a tight end because the tight end situation sucks. That being said, I may pick up Evan Engram here because these guys are real dart throws. Tolbert is maybe not as much of a dart throw, but he's, But he is. He's still a dart throw. I might actually pick up Evan Ingram and play him instead. The last time we saw Tolbert, he had 4 catches for 43 yards. Week prior, he had 7 for 87 and a touchdown. Career highs across the board, I believe, as far as catches, yards, and he caught a touchdown. But, like, are we chasing that? I don't know if we're chasing that. I think I might pick up Ingram. Yeah, I would pick up Evan Ingram. Because he's a top, like, 5 or 6 tight end option week to week with the volume that we expect him to get. It didn't happen last week, but he still had 5 catches, I think. I would pick up Ingram and play him over those dart throws. Yep. I can't believe this is one of those rare instances because there's not a lot of leagues that we don't start a tight end outright. I like that, though. I respect the hell out of it. But in this instance, with a guy like Ingram available, I will play him over these dart throws. Yes, I will pick him up. Thank you again for the super, Don. Drop McMillan for Leggett. No, I would keep McMillan because Godwin's done for the year. Evans is out for the next 3 games at least. Leggett could ascend to the wide receiver 1 role, but as a rookie, like if they trade Thielen and they trade Deontay, I don't know how likely that is. But like, is Andy Dalton going to play again? I guess he will. Is Leggett going to be able to, handle being a number 1 wide receiver in the event that those guys get traded? Are they going to alternate between Dalton and Bryce Young? The Bryce Young weeks, I'm not going to want to play anybody on Carolina, even Chuba Hubbard. I'll take McMillan. Better quarterback play for sure, catching the ball from Baker. Keep McMillan. Let's see. I'll let Nick and Don figure out their fandom for the Yankees and the Dodgers, although I get it. This World Series is going to be super exciting, I suppose. Big teams, marquee teams, stars all over the place. Do you trade Josh Allen and Javonte Williams for Hurts and Kenneth Walker? Yes. Run, don't walk. If that trade is available, smash accept. Walker is a massive upgrade over Javonte Williams, and Hurts right now is a safer option at quarterback than Josh Allen. Josh Allen has had like multiple bad weeks this year from a fantasy perspective. Yes. If Hurts and Allen are a push any given week, that's fine. Walker is better than Javonte. Yes. If you are acquiring Hurts and Kenneth Walker, yes, make this trade, make this move. I wish I had like a sound the alarm emoji or something. I'm not that friggin' tech savvy, so I don't know how to get those emojis working or whatever. Special effects. Yes. You are selling Allen and Javonte and acquiring Hurts and Kenneth Walker. Run, do not walk. Run to accept that trade. Yes, please make that happen for yourself. If Higgins is out, start Jacoby or Dowdle. I would start Dowdle. I need to see, yes, I know that Dowdle had his snaps cut in the last game, but they were getting blown out. Is he really going to lose all of these opportunities to 2 29-year-old running backs and Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook, who are over the hill? Play Higgins if he plays. Play Dowdle if Higgins is out. I want to believe in Rico Dowdle. I don't know if he's not the best running back in the league, but he's the best running back that the Cowboys have. Whether they realize that or not is another thing. Your running backs are stacked, and this goes back to that trade question. I need to remind myself. you get Collins, you give up Worthy, Reed, and Bigsby. All right. Yeah. I mean, if you're sitting pretty and Collins is a stash for the playoffs, then I'm okay with it. I'm okay with that trade. I'm okay with the trade. As long as your running backs are stout, because it's tough to trade a running back without giving one up, at least for me. Anthony Richardson or Bo Nix? This is where we're at with Anthony Richardson. I would play Bo Nix. They're playing the Carolina Panthers. The year 2024 is like the weirdest fantasy season I've ever seen. Yes, we are playing Bo Nix over Anthony Richardson. I would. He's playing Carolina. Richardson has been terrible. He has not been good. And I want to believe that he can still figure things out and turn things around because he's played so few games dating back to college. But damn, man, it is hard to watch right now. He was 10 of 24 last week. He ran for 56 yards. It took him 14 carries to do that. That's like, those are plotty running back numbers, not electric quarterback running the ball numbers. I mean, he played very well the last time he played Houston, and that's his matchup this week. He played really well the last time he played Houston. That was back in week 1. It was a home game. Will his fortunes be any different on the road? That remains to be seen. And Houston is actually not a great matchup. Since then, Houston's not a great matchup on either side of the ball. They're a top 10 defense, both combined against the run and the pass. I would play Bo Nix because Carolina is a doormat. I can't believe this is where we're at with Anthony Richardson. But yeah, I'm playing Bo Nix over him. I am playing Bo Nix over him. Pick 2. Well, Kamara's 1. I know that, he's difficult to trust with Spencer Rattler in there, and it's not a good matchup by the numbers, but Kamara is not coming out of your lineup. You have to start him and hope for the best. Between Pickens, Brian Thomas, Terry McLaurin, Calvin Ridley. Not Ridley. It's between those other 3 wide receivers. And I don't know the scoring. Well, I guess it doesn't matter. It's 3 receivers. Between Pickens, between Brian Thomas, between Terry McLaurin. I guess McLaurin is the one that is the most difficult to trust because we aren't sure if Jaden Daniels is going to play. Brian Thomas is just awesome, man. I was a George Pickens guy coming into the season just because of the expectations that we could have of him. And Russell Wilson being in the lineup was a big help for George Pickens. He finally had like a huge game, 5 for 11 and a touchdown. Easily his best game of the season. Nothing scary about the matchup against the Giants. Brian Thomas, meanwhile, is against Green Bay. Also nothing scary about that matchup. And he's been he's been way more consistent. Brian Thomas has been way more consistent than George Pickens. But Russ being in there boosts George Pickens. I would play Brian Thomas, I think. He's the wide receiver. I think he's the wide receiver 2 on the season. Pickens is not that high. He's had more down weeks. Now, obviously, that was with Justin Fields, but let's see some consistency and continuity from Russell Wilson before we go back to the well when we have other viable options to turn to. I'll say BTJ. I will say Brian Thomas. He is a strong, firmly entrenched wide receiver 2 on the season so far. And there's nothing but upside for him as he continues to get better. Give me Kamara and give me Brian Thomas. That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. Half PPR, Montgomery versus Najee. I want to believe in the Lions. And with no JMO, Najee's in a great matchup, but Jaylen Warren is healthy. We know that Montgomery is We know his role. We know Gibbs is going to be involved. We know Montgomery is going to get his drives. JMO being out potentially increases the number of targets to be distributed evenly among all the other available options. They're both startable, but I'll take Montgomery. He's a touchdown scoring machine. He gets the goal line work. Najee does too, but Warren could mix in there. And now Warren is healthy. I'll say Montgomery, even though it's not a good matchup. Are they at home? Are the Lions at home, or is that on the road? If it's on the road, then that's a little less enticing. They're at home. I would start Montgomery. I would start Montgomery. One Mixon or Mixon. Mixon's a locked and loaded RB1 this year. He's not coming out of your lineup. Mixon. And it's, Mixon. I like Jaden Reed. Jaden Reed's a damn good player. We're talking about an RB1, though. And Mixon is not coming out of your lineup. Not against a run funnel like the Colts defense. No. Mixon, for sure. Mixon, for sure. Who do you drop to get Tolbert? I mean, I understand holding Gainwell, but because you have Saquon, but he's so off the radar. I understand wanting to. Kenny Gainwell is not like a handcuff in my opinion, because he doesn't do enough. And I don't know that he would necessarily ascend to like a regularly usable role if anything happened to Saquon. They would probably start getting Will Shipley some more opportunities. They would absolutely sign another guy, whoever that might be. Who else is on that Eagles backfield? Nobody. It's that. I would drop Saquon, or don't drop Saquon. I would drop Gainwell, because Saquon is not. I mean, yeah, I don't think Gainwell is a handcuff hold just because you have Saquon. That's an occasion where you don't need to hold the backup, because I don't think Gainwell has standalone value as beyond anything more than like an RB3 if anything were to happen to Saquon. I would drop Gainwell. I would drop Gainwell. Achane, Bigsby, Irving, Dowdle, Davis. Well, Achane for sure. Achane's ceiling is back with Tua, starting this week. So we feel good about going back to the well with Devon Achane. Give me Achane, and then I want to say Dowdle. I believe in Rico Dowdle. Again, I don't think he's a world-class running back, but I think he's the best option the Cowboys have, and it would be weird for them to go away from him. He didn't get a lot of snaps in Week 6. That's the last time the Cowboys played. And they're elevating Dalvin Cook off the practice squad? Like, why? Dalvin Cook is 105 years old in running back years. And Zeke is like 120. These dudes are ancient. I want to say Dowdle. Bigsby is tough to chart with ETN potentially playing, and D'Ernest Johnson is the one running the routes out of the Jags backfield, not Bigsby. I know he had 2 touchdowns this past week, so you want to ride that wave. Achane for sure. I want to believe in Dowdle. I'll say Dowdle. Stick to your guns, right? If you don't stick to your guns, who will? I'll say Achane, and I'll say Dowdle. He is the running back that the Cowboys need to utilize. There is no reason that his snaps should be taken by Ezekiel Elliott and Dalvin Cook anything more than him needing a breather. Give me Achane, give me Dowdle. Everyone else is rostered. Okay, yeah. Okay. We'll go Josh Palmer and hope for the best. At least he catches the ball from Justin Herbert. Maybe he hits on a play. Waddle, McMillan, Dobbs, Pearsall. Waddle. We're going with Waddle. Two is back. The ceiling is back. You're talking about Waddle versus some interest. Dobbs is good. McMillan is interesting. Pearsall has upside. These are wide receiver threes. Waddle, when everything is working right and Tua is healthy, and Waddle's doing the most with the least, which is what he has to do every week, but he catches every target he gets and he turns them into big plays when Tua is healthy. He's a top 15 option generally. Maybe he's more top 20 this week in Tua's first game back, but Waddle, the ceiling is back for the Dolphins offense. Tyreek, start him. Waddle, start him. Achane, start him. You can get these guys back into your lineup again with confidence. Waddle is your option of McMillan, Dobbs, Pearsall. 100%. You could go, if you want to believe in the fact that Bo Nix and Troy Franklin came from Oregon and you want to rock with Troy Franklin, that's fine. They're dart throws. So, pick your favorite one. If that's your favorite one, go with Troy Franklin. I guess I slightly lean Palmer, even though he hasn't done anything this year. But if Quentin Johnston is out, if DJ Chark is out, somebody's got to be out there, right? Somebody needs to run routes for the Chargers. I got Greg's questions because, again, I got to get the member questions first. So I already took care of that. So, but good to see you, Greg. Appreciate you dropping in. Wilson or Goff? Goff gets the Titans. Wilson gets the Giants. I don't know. Do I trust Russell Wilson yet at this point? I might just go Goff. He doesn't have J-Mo, so that hurts his ceiling. And the Lions might boat race the Titans because they're so significantly better. But Goff is at home, and Goff plays well at home. He does. He plays well at home. I'll say Goff. He still has both running backs can catch the ball, Gibbs and Montgomery. He still has the Sun God. He still has Sam Laporta. Tim Patrick is a savvy vet. He should be fine. I'll play Goff at home. The only concern here is volume. If the Lions blow the doors off and kill the Titans, then they're not going to be throwing the ball, so Goff won't have any volume to work with. But you got to score points in the first place, so that's where Goff could come through. I'll say Goff, and he plays well at home. He historically plays well at home since he got to Detroit. I'll say Goff. And then Ramondre or Bigsby. Yeah, Ramondre is that cutoff of my least favorite running back, but he has a clear opportunity, whereas these other guys don't. And there's nothing scary about the matchup against the Jets. Yes, Hassan Reddick is making his Jets debut, but it's his first game that he's playing this season, so probably needs to get up to speed a little bit. And the Jets are a beatable matchup on the ground anyway. I will say Ramondre. I know that he's been frustrating, but he has delivered in half of his games played this year. Let's not forget. He's given you double-digit fantasy points 3 out of the 6 games he's played this year. So the possibility remains that he can give you like a 10-point performance. Bigsby could do that, but is ETN going to get involved? Is it going to be a Dearness Johnson week because he's running a lot of routes? And again, and Jacksonville is playing the Packers. I don't know that the Jags will be in a position like they were last week against the Patriots when they'll be able to run in the fourth quarter to salt the game away because they're playing a much better opponent. So it could be like a Dearness Johnson week of all things. I'll say Ramondre. I'm not predicting don't start Dearness Johnson. I'm just saying I think he'll be annoying for Tank Bigsby tomorrow. The Niners defense or the Chargers defense. Yeah, I mean, in a vacuum, you would want to start the Chargers because they're playing the Saints. I will look at their injury report myself, if that is the concern. I'm just looking them up right now on X to see what their latest injury report is. They haven't shared one. Full game status as of yesterday. Joey Bosa's questionable. Christian Fulton is going to play, so that's good. Khalil Mack is going to play, so that's good. Denzel Perryman is questionable. Ja'Sir Taylor is no injury designation, so he'll play. Give me the Chargers. I guess what you can do here, one team plays in, during the full slate, and one team plays on Sunday Night Football. So you will have the luxury of knowing who's going and when. If Joey Bosa is in and Khalil Mack is going to play, play the Chargers. But if you see that Joey Bosa's ruled out, and who else was on Fulton? Fulton doesn't have an injury designation, so he's good to go. And is Khalil Mack. If Bosa's going to play and Denzel Perryman's going to play and the Chargers have most of their starters, play the Chargers. But if Joey Bosa's out and Denzel Perryman is out and you don't want to risk it and you'd rather go with the 49ers, then you can go with the 49ers. But the Chargers are in a much better matchup playing Spencer Rattler. I would probably just play the Chargers. I would play the Chargers. Trade or hold McCaffrey. You're 1-6. I would try to trade McCaffrey tonight because you're not going to have him this week, and the 49ers bye week is next week. You're not going to have him for the next 2 weeks, and you only have one win. You might need somebody now who can help you now. I would trade McCaffrey. See, we can't stash and wait on injured players if we're 1-6, right? And I'm not trying to belittle your situation because I'm 2-5 in a couple of leagues, and admittedly, I got to turn the ship around, but I've dealt with injuries as well. I've built good teams, I promise. The results just haven't been there. We're more in win now mode. We need wins now. We can't stash guys like, but if I sneak into the playoffs, then this will be great. I would trade McCaffrey to a team that is at the top of the standings for a guy that is healthy now that can help you now. And you don't have to sell for pennies on the dollar because McCaffrey is reportedly going to return soon. But you're not going to have him for this week or next week because it's the 49ers bye and you need wins now. I would try to trade McCaffrey and get something good, like a Jalen Waddle, like an Achane, like a Miami Dolphins player that has been flying under the radar because they haven't been performing well, but Tua is back. Can you catch somebody sleeping at the top of the standings? Their eyes get big when they see McCaffrey and they give you a wide receiver 1 or an RB1 that can help you now, that can help you win games this week, next week, the week after that. That's what gets you back into playoff contention. If you're 3-9 and McCaffrey's healthy, that doesn't do you any good because you're not going to make the playoffs at that point. We need wins now. I would try to trade McCaffrey, and I would try to be aggressive trading him. Try to get somebody who can start for you tomorrow, this week. And you can ask for a good player because McCaffrey's trending toward a return. But if you don't believe in your lineup the way it's currently constructed, are you going to be 1-8 in week 10 when McCaffrey returns? Now you're sunk. Now you're like way too far behind the 8 ball. Like if you like your roster, if you've got a really good roster and you've just been unlucky, that's one thing, but you're 2 more losses away from like it being out of it. You need a live body. You need somebody who can help you soon, now, not in 3 weeks. Yeah. If you are 1-6, 2-5, and you have McCaffrey, the time to it's like I got to trade him. I got to trade him because he's not going to help me these next 2 weeks. I need somebody who's going to help me these next 2 weeks and get back in the win column. We need wins now. Brian Thomas or Dobbins? I love Brian Thomas, but we have to start Dobbins. He's got RB1 upside this week in this matchup against the New Orleans Saints. They are a run funnel. At home, give me Dobbins. Give me Dobbins. Love Brian Thomas. Always want to find ways to get him in the lineup, but not over. We can't start Brian Thomas over Dobbins. We have to play Dobbins. He's RB1 upside against the New Orleans Saints. We are start every running back ever against the New Orleans Saints. Maybe not Kamani Vidal, but definitely Dobbins. Otten or Ferguson, it's close. We're gonna rank them as 2 top 8 options this week. I give the slight nod to Otten because Mike Evans is out and Chris Godwin is out. He has as real a chance as any tight end this week to command a number 1 target share in his team's offense. Ferguson will not do that as long as CeeDee Lamb is active for the Cowboys. I expect Ferguson to be fine any given week. I'll play Otten. And again, this goes for everybody. If you have 2 tight end ones, you have one tight end too many. Try to trade one. If you can't, then you can't, but try to trade a tight end. Somebody in your league needs a tight end. For a running back 4, a wide receiver 3, I don't care. Get more running back or wide receiver depth. And rock with 1 tight end rest of season. If that guy gets hurt, we'll figure out your situation when the time comes. But we don't want to operate that way. We can't operate that way. Somebody in your league probably needs a tight end. Trade one if you can. But I would play Otten this week if you have both. Bigsby or Madison in is this half PPR? The Raiders get the Chiefs. That is a tough matchup. The problem with Bigsby this week is potential game script. Again, like, do the Packers have a lead and therefore D'Ernest Johnson, not Tank Bigsby, is the one who's running routes and seeing opportunities? But this is not a good matchup at all for Madison. It's a better matchup. It's a better matchup by the numbers for Bigsby. I guess I'll say Bigsby. I have a lot. Bigsby should be fine, but they're not going to be like last week in London. They were able to salt the game away against the New England Patriots because the New England Patriots stink. So Bigsby got a lot of work late in that game. They're probably not going to have a similar game script against the Green Bay Packers. So while it's a better matchup for Bigsby, I wouldn't be surprised to see D'Ernest Johnson get in there, running routes, catching passes, because he's been the pass-catching running back for them while ETN has been nursing these injuries. I'll say Bigsby, just because Madison's going to have a hard time coming through in this matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs are killing it against opposing running backs. I'll take Bigsby. I gotcha. I know. You want to have your insurance policies ready to go, and I totally understand that. And if you want to sit tight with Gainwell, I don't blame you. But if you're looking to add some more depth that can help you now, then that comes at Gainwell's expense. He doesn't have a ton of standalone value. And I don't know that he's necessarily going to be viable in the event that like Saquon has to miss a game. While you're here, and thanks for the interesting factoids. Appreciate you. Who should you target if you're going to trade Najee? He's been really good. He's been solid this year. I mean, could you get James Cook? He's a little bit on he's trending down a little bit right now with like his vibes. I think he's on the injury report, and but like he's still a good player in a great offense. What's James Cook? What's his injury designation? I believe I last saw he is on the injury report, unless he was removed. He was removed, but he bottomed out as the RB20. He's had a bad couple of weeks recently, Cook, and he didn't play week 6, so the vibes are down. Try James Cook. Could you trade Najee for James Cook? Get an RB for RB swap, something like that. Try to trade Cook or trade for Cook. His vibes are down. Najee's vibes are solid, but Jaylen Warren is coming back. Yeah, something like that. Okay. Do you start Debo? So this is a loaded question. Like, who are your other options available to you? Do you have somebody in Sunday night football that you could pivot to, or Monday night football? Jalen Tolbert. Wan'Dale Robinson for the Giants on Monday Night Football. Jaylen Warren as a running back flex, or is it only a wide receiver spot and therefore you'd have to start a wide receiver? I want to start Debo. I always want to start Debo, but we don't know if he's going to play. We don't know if he's going to be limited if he plays. I don't know what other options you have available to you, and you might be limited because, again, the 49ers play on Sunday Night Football, and it sucks dealing with a 50-50 situation as to whether someone's going to play or not in Sunday Night Football. So I don't know who your other options are. I need to know. Flex 2 in full PPR. Smith and Jigba, Brian Thomas, George Pickens. If DK Metcalf doesn't play, then the first two. Pickens had a really nice day last week with Russ, and maybe the arrow is finally pointing up on Pickens' season, and there's nothing scary about his matchup, but Smith and Jigba's in a great position if Metcalf is out, and Brian Thomas has been awesome. He's the wide receiver, I think, 16 or 17 on the year. Depending on the scoring, he might be the wide receiver 15 or wide receiver 18, depending on your league scoring. He's been a strong wide receiver, too, all season long. Pickens' arrow's pointing up, but he hasn't been a strong wide receiver, too, all season long. Brian Thomas has, and there's nothing scary about his matchup against the Packers. Give me JSN if Metcalf is out. Give me Brian Thomas no matter what. If Metcalf is ruled in and is expected to play his normal allotment of snaps, then I would play Pickens over JSN, but he's doubtful, so I don't know how likely that is. I would tentatively plan to go JSN and Brian Thomas. Javonte or baby, we are Javonte Williams to the moon against the Carolina Panthers. We are going all the way with Javonte Williams. He cooked the Saints last week. He's at home against Carolina this week. Denver's offense is still on the up and up. This is a spot where you start to build confidence and momentum. The Carolina Panthers are a doormat. You can run on them. You can throw on them. You can do whatever you want against that defense. Their defense stinks. They are number 32 against the run. They are number 25 against the pass. Other than that, they're solid. All this to say, they stink. Javonte Williams, 100%. 100%. All the way with Javonte. Nick, I did get this question. I apologize if you missed it. My answer is Jaylen Warren because he's healthy. So we expect the Steelers to kind of start going with a committee approach. Arthur Smith, dating back to his time in Atlanta, loves committees. Even when they drafted Bijan Robinson 8th overall, they still gave Tyler Algier 40% of the opportunities. Jaylen Warren is going to get opportunities in this offense now that he's healthy. Warren is my answer. Then Justice Hill. then Charbonnet, then Ray Davis. I would go Warren of this group. I picked him up myself. He was dropped in a 10-team league. I went ahead and picked him up. Yeah, see, you're the one who's in the situation where you want to acquire Christian McCaffrey. But if somebody has Christian McCaffrey and a bad record and a lineup that they don't trust week to week, and sometimes bad luck happens, but like we need wins now. If he wants to accept the losses, then you just say, okay, better luck next year. Have fun holding McCaffrey, and you keep it moving. Again, McCaffrey's expected to return, but it might be too little too late for that team if they hold them. And you've been unlucky. I mean, sorry you've been unlucky. We've all been there. I've been there quite a few times this year. I lost I've lost 2 games this year where I lost by like less than a point, and then I think I had another loss where I lost by like 3 points. It's been rough. And you lost Rice, so that hurts. HN and Waddle coming back give you a boost, so that helps your short term. That helps you tomorrow for sure in a way that you didn't have that help the last month, really. Yeah, depending on who the rest of your roster is, though, I wouldn't be shy about dangling Christian McCaffrey to one of the teams in your league with a good record and get a good player from them. And we're full throttle trying to pick up a couple of wins in the next couple of weeks to put yourself back in position. Damn, pick 2 out of Achane, Kamara, Hunt, Dobbins. I mean, these are 4 RB1s. Dobbins and Hunt. Dobbins against the Saints. Hunt against the Raiders. Kamara against the Broncos is tough. And he's normally a start and hope for the best no matter what. But you have other studs that you can choose from. Achane gets his ceiling back, and it's a great matchup. But if you want to wait a week on him, again, you have the studs to do that. Hunt against the Raiders is a beautiful matchup, and Dobbins against the Saints is a beautiful matchup. I'll say Dobbins and Hunt. Dobbins and Hunt. Brian Thomas or Neighbors. I love Brian Thomas. Neighbors is already a star. These guys are both going to be stars. Neighbors is like already there. I know Neighbors didn't do well last week. He also has a tough matchup by the numbers this week. Neighbors. And that's just because in the small sample size we have of both of these guys, they both look awesome. Neighbors looks like bulletproof. Neighbors looks bulletproof. Again, I know he had a bad week last week, but it looks like he could overcome any situation. Bad quarterback play, bad matchup, doesn't matter. Neighbors looks like that dude. What do the young people say these days? Neighbors is him. I'm kidding. I obviously know that phrase. It's been tossed around like crazy for the past 3 or 4 years now, but it's true. Neighbors is that dude. And then McMillan or Lockett. I would go Lockett because Metcalf is out or is doubtful and not looking good to play. If Metcalf is out, I'm playing Lockett. I know Godwin is out, Evans is out, so McMillan opportunity, but Lockett is a proven player, and I believe they're at home. Is Seattle at home? They are. Lockett over McMillan, yes. And then between Flowers and Dell, Flowers is on the injury report, so I'd probably just play Dell. Even if Flowers is active tomorrow, Dell is in a good matchup. I know he goose-egged last week. They're at home. I would think they course correct a little bit. Nico Collins is still out. I'll take Dell. Yeah, have a good. Well, okay. So you have one quarterback too many. I would find a team in your league that needs a quarterback as well. Keep only one of Hurts or Daniels. Daniels is going to be tough to trade this week because he might not play, but you only need one of those guys. I would try to trade Daniels and keep Hurts because Daniels, even with the injury tomorrow, or potentially holding him out tomorrow, is going to command a solid player. You only need one quarterback. Try to get a frontline running back. Like, you could offer Daniels and McCaffrey for a really good running back. It might not get it done, but Daniels and McCaffrey could net you Saquon, Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon, Kamara. Maybe even Derrick Henry. If you offer McCaffrey and like Daniels, with the hope that McCaffrey returns in a couple of weeks, that should net you a pretty damn good running back, I would think. Or a damn good wide receiver. Hell, try to get CeeDee Lamb. His value's down right now. People are concerned about him because he's not lighting the world on fire, but I think he's a perfectly fine buy. Like, take one of those quarterbacks, take McCaffrey, and go to the league, the top 3 teams in your league, top 4 teams in your league, and offer that package for a stud. CeeDee Lamb, Jamar Chase, Saquon, Derrick Henry. See if they bite. Kenneth Walker, Joe Mixon. See if they go for it. Because that's a damn good collect. Like, McCaffrey's hurt, Daniels is hurt, but that's a respectable package to send to somebody with you looking for top dollar. And people are going to overlook you because you're 1-6. So they'll say, yeah, all right, I'll trade with this person. This is where you can catch people sleeping. Go to the top 3 or 4 teams in your league. Offer McCaffrey, offer Daniels, because you only need one quarterback. Ride with Hurts, or sell Hurts and ride with Daniels. Take your pick. And see if you can get a damn stud. You can ask for that because it's Christian McCaffrey. And for the first time this season, since week 1, we have, like, there's a light at the end of the tunnel for him to return. Ask for a stud. Ask for a stud. But your targets should be the guys at the top of the league. On one hand, yes, you don't want to make the really good teams better, but on the other hand, those teams will help you in the standings because they will beat the other teams that you are in contention with to get back into the playoff race. Your contention at this point forward is not the guy in your league who's 6-1 or 5-2. Your contention are the other guys in the league who are 3-4 or 2-5. Those are the teams that you need to lose. Make another team better at the top of the standings to help you beat those teams. So try to get creative. See what you can come away with. You have Pickens in the flex. Okay. So this would be, I would start Debo. So, okay. I would plan to play Debo if he plays, and if he's ruled out, or if the vibe is that he's expected to be limited, then you can keep Pickens in there because Pickens plays on Monday night. So that works. That works. If Debo doesn't play, then yeah, okay. I would move Pickens to the wide receiver spot, and I would put Najee in at your flex. I think that's fine to have them both in if you need them both in. It's a good matchup against the Giants, and they're at home. Yeah, you'll be fine. If Debo's active, play Debo. If Debo's out, you move Pickens to the wide receiver spot, you move Najee to the flex spot, you'll be okay. It's a good matchup against the Giants. Not Chase Brown. I like Chase Brown. He should be okay, but you want to wait on Debo, and you have guys on Monday night that you can pivot to to wait it out on Debo. No, I want to wait on Debo. If Debo's in, you play Debo. If he's out, you move Pickens to your flex and you play Najee. That's your move. If Debo's out, Pickens to wide receiver, Najee to flex. I think that's fine. And I did already kind of touch on this. Yeah. Package McCaffrey and one of those quarterbacks, top team in the league. See if they'll give you a really strong running back or a really strong wide receiver. Swing for the fences. With those names, with McCaffrey and either Hurts or Daniels, ask for a top flight running back or a top flight wide receiver. Get a stud. Get a stud. You have the ammunition to make that happen. Start one of these tight ends. Laporta, Henry, Hill, Fergie, Ferg, Freiermuth, or Kraft. It's either Ferguson or Kraft for me. Ferguson is cooking from a target perspective. Ferguson, they were on their bye this past week. He didn't do anything against the Lions, but the Cowboys got absolutely boat raced against the Lions. Ferguson was a top 10 tight end the 3 weeks prior to the dismantling week 6 that the Cowboys faced. I would play Ferguson. The volume is there. They just need to not get blown out, which isn't going to happen most weeks. I would play Ferguson of this group. Week 6 was bad, but week 6 was bad for all of the Cowboys. Weeks 3 through 5, Ferguson was the tight end 3, the tight end 9, the tight end 10. We'll take that consistency. We'll take Ferguson of this group. And I already got this. No to Chase Brown. Wait on Debo. Play your Steelers if Debo's out. Start 2, Kamara, Taylor, Hunt. Taylor coming back is good news. Kamara gets the Chargers. I would play Kamara and Hunt because it's Taylor's first game back, and he should be fine, but it's actually not a good matchup by the numbers. Houston's pretty good against the run, and it's Taylor's first game back from a high ankle sprain, so let's maybe give him a week. He's better than dart throw options, but Kamara and Hunt are not dart throws. I would play those two. I would play Kamara and Hunt. Kamara is in a pulling teeth situation with that Saints offense, but he's going to get volume, and Olave coming back after missing last week should help open things up for him. Kamara and Hunt. And again, I'll take Ferguson over Pitts. Again, week 6 was bad, but the target share can't be denied. Pitts' usage is up and down. It's been better recently, but it's still up and down. I will take Ferguson's pretty much guaranteed target share. He is a focal point mainstay of that offense week in, week out. I know he didn't do anything week 6, but that was because nobody on the Cowboys did anything week 6. They got absolutely crushed. Coming out of their bye week, don't expect a repeat situation. They should be competitive in this game. I'll take Ferguson over Pitts. Pitts has been better, but Ferguson's role feels more solidified. Pick 3, Brian Thomas, George Pickens, Jaden Reed, Malik Neighbors. These are all really good options. I would definitely play Neighbors because he's awesome. I think I would play Jaden Reed because they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's a beautiful matchup. And I've been saying Brian Thomas over George Pickens, so I have to stick to my guns on this. Brian Thomas has been a wide receiver 2 on the season. Pickens to this point hasn't, and I know his quarterback situation is different now and should be better for him moving forward, but Brian Thomas has been cooking most of this season. I want to go back to the well with Brian Thomas. He's putting up consistently good performances. So I want to go back to the well. Give me Neighbors, give me Reed, give me Brian Thomas. I like Pickens. But if I have to bench a guy of this group, then it's him. Now, in this situation, I will recommend Brian Thomas because I would rather start him over Marvin Harrison or Ricky Pearsall. Marvin Harrison is difficult to trust right now. Brian Thomas is not difficult to trust right now. And that's all it comes down to. So if Higgins is out, if Higgins is in, you play Higgins. But if Higgins is out, I would play Brian Thomas. I'll play Brian Thomas. And Pearsall is we're not going to know of these guys. These guys all play earlier in the day on Sunday. We're not going to know Debo's status in all likelihood beforehand. And even still, Pearsall over these guys, I can't fire up. Even if I knew Debo was out, I don't think I would play Pearsall over Brian Thomas or Marvin Harrison Jr. We need to see it from Pearsall first. And yes, you should explore that because you can improve over Alexander Mattison. Mattison has been decent. He has been solid. I would want another running back. I would want another running back to hang my hat on for the rest of the season. Yes, I would try to. I mean, I want to keep Jaden Reed and I want to keep Malik Neighbors, although you could ask for a really good running back for either one of those two. Yeah, I would. Whatever you can get, whatever you can potentially dangle, I would trade any one of those guys depending on the return that you get in the form of a running back. But the answer is yes. I would look to improve on your RB2. I would trade, go around your league. Who has a surplus of running back? Like who in your league has a combination of a running back surplus and is hurting at wide receiver? Is there somebody in your league who has both Ayuk and Godwin or Ayuk and Evans or maybe Evans and Godwin and is hurting at wide receiver? Do they have DK Metcalf who might not play tomorrow? Do they have Zay Flowers who might not play tomorrow? Did they have Rashid Shaheed, who's out for the season now? Find somebody in your league who's got good running backs and could use a wide receiver and see what type of conversation you can strike up. All right. I'm at the end of the chat for questions. I can sit tight for a little bit longer if there are any others that pop in. If anybody missed anything that I answered, let me know. And I'm not seeing any new updates. Then not anything new that we went over at the beginning of the show. I went over injuries, latest injury updates at the beginning of the stream. So if you want to check that out, that would just be a rewind back closer to the beginning. Probably the first couple minutes of the stream is when I went over injuries overall. So we are at the end of this chat. I might be shutting this down here shortly. I can go live tomorrow morning. That might be a members only stream just because my time might be a little tight tomorrow. But if anybody needs any final thoughts, I can run a members stream tomorrow. I'll be live, for a short amount of time. If anybody needs any last minute thoughts, I will give some overarching thoughts in general. But time might be a little bit limited for me tomorrow. That being said, I know it's a busy week for everybody. There are no bye weeks this week, so you have your full disposal of options or full bench options at your disposal is what I should say, injuries aside, with no bye weeks tomorrow. So I can try to be available for a short amount of time in the morning on Sunday ahead of kickoff. Yes, Brian Robinson would be a solid add for if you can get him for Pickens or Yeah, Pickens or Brian Thomas. That's fine. I would be on board with that because I trust. I mean, we can trust the Washington offense moving forward with Jaden Daniels, and Brian Robinson is going to have more scoring opportunities just moving forward in general. Yep. Robinson would be good. Okay. If nobody needs anything else, or if you miss me tonight, feel free to leave a question in the form of a comment on this stream, and I will get to it when I can. Otherwise, I can fire off a short stream tomorrow morning if anybody needs any last-minute thoughts ahead of kickoff. Winston or Mariota? Woof. I guess. Oh, my God. Winston's got the better matchup, but he's got such few options to work with. At least Mariota would have Terry McLaurin. And he can run a little bit. Mariota runs a little better than Winston. I guess Mariota. But your answer will be easy if we're expecting Jaden Daniels to play. Like if the news is Jaden Daniels is expected to play, they play in the late window. I think the Browns play in the early window. If we're getting news that Jaden Daniels is not expected to play, then I would wait on Mariota. If we're getting updates that he could play, then you probably just need to go Winston because you know Winston will start. But if the expectation is that Mariota will start, you can go to Mariota. If the news is that we are optimistic for Jaden Daniels to play, or even that he just remains a game-time decision but is still 50-50 to play, then you probably can't risk it. You can't chance it. I would probably just play Winston. So it depends on what the latest update is before kickoff tomorrow as it pertains to Jaden Daniels. We're kind of at the mercy of that because Winston goes in the early window and Mariota goes in the late window. Okay. I don't see any more questions. Gonna shut this down here quickly or shortly, but appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out tonight. Hopefully this was helpful in some way, shape, or form. Special shout out to my members. I saw David, I saw Derek, I saw Greg. I think that was all of my I saw Jake as well. Jake didn't have any questions. But thanks for coming in all the same. Appreciate Brandon and Don for sending a couple of supers. That was very kind of you guys. Thank you so much. I will be back live tomorrow. There's no international game, so nobody has to wake up. I'm on the West Coast, so no 6:15 a.m. start for me on Sunday. Checking my lineups to make sure that friggin' Evan Ingram is active in the London games. No London game tomorrow, no international game tomorrow, so that spot is freed up. I can go live for a short amount of time if anybody needs any last-minute thoughts. But that will do it for me tonight. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Saturday, however you're spending it, whether it's the World Series or some college football or none of the above, whatever you're doing. Enjoy your evening. Best of luck tomorrow if I don't see y'all, but I will plan to go live for a short while tomorrow, probably around 11 a.m. Eastern. I admittedly may make it members only, just because I think my time might be in a little bit of a crunch. You only need to be in the lowest form of the lowest level memberships on the channel, which is 99 cents a month to be active or to be eligible to be active for any members only streams. Those details are in the first link in the description of this stream and all of the videos and streams on the channel. Appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate your time. Thanks for spending the time tonight. And best of luck in your Week 8 matchups if I don't see y'all tomorrow. I will be back if that's the case on Tuesday, as always, 6 p.m. Eastern for Week 9 waiver wire help. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your evening.